Chapter 509 Yellow Gold Tier Blazing Sun Army. Yellow Gold Tier Braveness. Zhou Zhou gazed calmly at the battlefield that had stabilized below. He was not surprised that the battle could end so easily. What to do? His strength far exceeded that of the Taiyan Kingdom and the Titan Kingdom. In addition, these two kingdoms did not have the combat strength at their peak, and he had mobilized all his forces. It would be strange if these two kingdoms could withstand him. Then, his gaze landed on the text notification that had just appeared. This battle has been recorded. Battle settlement completed. Your monster army, Black Iron Tier Army, has obtained 4,000 battle points. The monster army has been upgraded to the White Silver Tier Army. Black Iron Tier Army Enhancement, Braveness has been upgraded to White Silver Tier Army Enhancement, Braveness. This battle has been recorded. Battle settlement completed. Your Dragon God Army, Black Iron Tier Army, has obtained 4,000 battle points. The Dragon God Army has been upgraded to the White Silver Tier Army. Black Iron Tier Army Enhancement, Braveness has been upgraded to White Silver Tier Army Enhancement, Braveness. This battle has been recorded. Battle settlement completed. Your Blazing Sun Army, Green Bronze Tier Army, has obtained 4,000 battle points. The Blazing Sun Army has been upgraded to a Yellow Gold Tier Army. Green Bronze Tier Army Enhancement, Braveness has been upgraded to Yellow Gold Tier Army Enhancement, Braveness. Zhou Zhou could not help but smile when he saw the three notifications. The Green Bronze Tier Blazing Sun Army was upgraded to the Yellow Gold Tier Blazing Sun Army. The Monster Army and the Dragon God Army, which had just established an official army, had directly jumped from the Black Iron Tier Army to the White Silver Tier Army. As expected, army battle points could only be obtained by fighting an official army. Previously, he had fought with tens of thousands of lords on the battlefield of the end but could not obtain even one battle point. However, he had obtained 4,000 points in this single battle. Zhou Zhou was instantly satisfied. He opened the army interface and looked at the current information about the army and the army buff, Braveness. Blazing Sun Army, Yellow Gold Tier Kingdom Army, current maximum number of soldiers accommodated, 1 for 55, 641/5 million, current battle point, 1, 200/4000, prompt, you can obtain the corresponding battle points by completing the battle. When there are enough battle points, you can increase the level of the army and unlock more army functions. Army Enhancement, Braveness, Buff Level, Yellow Gold Tier, Buff Effect, your legionaries will be even braver when fighting on the battlefield. At the same time, your overall strength will receive a 40% enhancement. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. His overall strength had obtained a 40% enhancement. This was already a relatively high strength enhancement. Then, he looked at the enhancement of the White Silver Tier Army, Braveness, and realized that it was a 30% increase in overall strength. Not bad. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. At this moment, Bai Yun walked over and waved her right hand. The corpses of the four-armed Mara King, Taro, and Iron Fang King, Siphon, appeared in front of him. My lord, did the enemy of the Nether Bark Kingdom not appear? She asked curiously. He probably escaped. Of course, there's also the possibility of spying on them and waiting for an opportunity, but the possibility is not high. Zhou Zhou said. Bai Yi nodded. Clean up the battlefield and take what you need. In addition, put the corpses of these enemies into the spaceship for the time being and retrieve the loots as you move. Then we'll go straight to the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom. Zhou Zhou said. Yes, my lord. At this moment, Wu Tu, the Soul Arrow, suddenly walked over quickly. I've something to report, my lord. I just received news from my people. It said that a mysterious army has suddenly descended on the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom and is attacking it. Even though the king of the Taiyan Kingdom can barely hold on with the protective barrier of the capital, I'm afraid he won't be able to last long. Wu Tu said quickly. How outrageous! Anger flashed across Bai Yun's eyes. They were fighting with their lives on the line here, but that mysterious army actually wanted to pass them and take advantage of them. A cold glint and killing intent flashed across Zhou Zhou's eyes. There was no need to guess. This mysterious army was most likely the Nether Bark army of the Nether Bark Kingdom. Otherwise, the other kingdoms would not have reacted so quickly. I thought you ran away because you were afraid of me. I didn't expect it was because you're looking to plunder the fruits of my war. Zhou Zhou narrowed his eyes slightly. Leave 100,000 soldiers, a starry night, and 90% of the Conqueror's blast furnace here to continue extracting loots. The remaining soldiers, board the spaceship immediately and head to the capital of the Aurora Kingdom. Originally, Zhou Zhou wanted to take some time to go to another Diamond-tier regional territory, Right Guardian City, to see if there were any leftover monster enemies that had not been attacked. From the looks of it, he could only go to the capital first. Yes, my lord. Bai Yun immediately ordered. Soon, other than the soldiers who stayed where they were and continued to retrieve the loots, the remaining soldiers boarded the spaceship and flew towards the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom. In the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom, a total of 2 million kobolds in black armor were gathered outside the capital and attacking the dark blue light barrier that enveloped the capital. One could vaguely see a dark blue illusory Eastern Divine Dragon swimming around on that light barrier, constantly neutralizing the attacks of the 2 million troops. However, because the enemy's attacks were too fierce and dense, the figure of the dark blue illusory Eastern Divine Dragon was continuously dissipating and condensing again. During the process of continuous dissipation and condensation, its Divine Dragon figure gradually became transparent. Obviously, this light barrier would not last long. Behind the Nether Bark army, a temporary military base was erected. A kobold that was more than 20 meters tall, carrying 2 dark black sabers on his back, wearing dark black divine armor and the clothes of a cardinal of the God of Death Church, was looking at the battle in front of him with a deep gaze. It was the Legion commander of the Nether Bark army and one of the 4 heroes of the Nether Bark Kingdom. The Death Spirit Servant, Sakomo. How long can this vast sea divine dragon barrier protect their capital? It said in a deep voice. Reporting to Cardinal Sakomo. According to my observations, this barrier would be destroyed by us in another half an hour. A kobold wearing the clothes of the God of Death priest said fawningly. There was a hint of pride and excitement in its voice. In its eyes, the breakthrough of the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom was already a done deal. The powerful human lord who was still fighting in Left Guardian City was just easy meat for them. When they broke through this Taiyan Kingdom and obtained the Kingdom Token, they would return to the Nether Bark Kingdom. When that happens, what would it matter how powerful the human lord was when they have the protection of His Excellency the God of Death? Half an hour, it's taking too long. Unexpectedly, Sakomo's expression was quite serious after hearing the priest's words. My lord is warning me. The danger is approaching at an astonishing speed. We have to break through the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom in 10 minutes, kill the king of the Taiyan Kingdom, and obtain the Kingdom Token. Sakomo said solemnly. Chapter 5:10 Death Spiritual Servant, Sakomo. God of Death descends. The priest's eyes widened. They are approaching so quickly. How is that possible? Could it be that the powerful human lord faction had already dealt with their enemies? However, there were a total of more than 3 million soldiers left in the Taiyan Kingdom and the Titan Kingdom. There were so many soldiers. Even if they all surrendered and killed them one by one, they would have to kill them for a day and night, right? How could it be resolved so quickly and come to look for us immediately without resting? Still, as a death spirit servant with extremely pure faith, Lord Sakomo's inspiration could reach a strange resonance with the God of Death's divine power. Therefore, Lord Sakomo's premonition would not be wrong. Under normal circumstances the priest's face became serious. I'll hurry them up now. We must break through the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom in the shortest time possible. With that, it immediately turned around and left. However, a kobold soldier rushed in a panic before it managed to get very far. Seeing this scene, Lord Sakomo and the priest both had a bad feeling. What the kobold soldier said next confirmed their thoughts. "My lord." That human lord flew over on the Machina race's mechanical spaceship. It said in a panic. Lord Sakomo and the priest did not speak for a moment. They came so quickly. "Prepare to retreat." Lord Sakomo said after taking time to consider the matter for some time. "Are we going to pull back just like that? This isn't our country, why should we fight that human lord head-on?" Sakomo glanced at it. If it was in the Nether Bark Kingdom, it would have the guts to fight the human lord even if he had tens of millions of soldiers under the protection of the god of death. However, in a faithless place like the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom, it would not do such a stupid thing as fighting the enemy head-on. "Yes. Lord Cardinal." The priest was still a little unwilling. Sakomo could understand the other party's feelings. Who could be willing? Their Nether Bark Kingdom was only lacking this kingdom token to advance to an intermediate kingdom. Unfortunately, the heavens did not grant them their wishes. They did not stay any longer and walked out of the temporary military base. Then, they saw the 16 majestic spaceships in the sky carrying the 9 million soldiers. In the sky. Zhou floated quietly in the sky. He looked at the 2 million soldiers of the Nether Bark Legion below. When they arrived, they were naturally not stupid. They had already stopped attacking the capital's barrier and looked at them warily. Just as Zhou was about to attack them, he saw Sakomo walk out of the military base. They looked at each other. A text notification appeared in front of Zhou. Name, Sakomo, Hero Title, Death Spirit Servant, Position, Epic Tier Heroes Fate Level, Territory, Taiyan Kingdom, Strength Level, Epic Tier Elementary Grade, Introduction, one of the 4 heroes of the Nether Bark Kingdom. It is one of the 4 guardians of the God of Death Church in the country. It is good at using a black star double-slash blade and can control the power of the Death Elemental and the Decay Elemental to attach to its 2 sabers and body, allowing its combat strength to increase by a level. Its combat style is steady and experienced, and its faith in the God of Death is extremely pure. Loot's drop rate, 20 Epic Tier Mist Cores, drop rate, 100%, 1000 Origin Crystals, drop rate, 100%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Enhanceable Hero Skill, God of Death Possession, drop rate, 8%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Enhanceable Hero Skill, Death Cross Slash, drop rate, 8%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Equipment, Black Star Double Slash, drop rate, 12%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Black Star Armor, drop rate, 10%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Skill Book, Deathmatch Combat Technique, drop rate, 8%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Death Double, drop rate, 8%, 1 Fanatic Tier Scarlet Crystal, drop rate, 3%, 1 Epic Tier Elementary Grade Hero Inheritance Secret Manual, drop rate, 0.001%, 5 Black Iron Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, drop rate, 0%, Zhou's eyes lit up. This guy's loot list actually had Fanatic Tier Scarlet Crystals. Then wouldn't he be able to obtain another Holy Spirit Tier Faith Divine Crystal after killing it? The Nether Bark Kingdom is a religious kingdom that believes in the God of Death. Perhaps there will be many kobolds with pure faith in this kingdom. Maybe I can obtain many Holy Spirit Tier Faith Divine Crystals from them. Zhou took a guess. In addition, its Epic Tier Elementary Grade Hero Inheritance Secret Manual would also become a Legendary Tier Elementary Grade Hero Inheritance Secret Manual after extracting it. This was also a considerable temptation to him. Zhou immediately felt that he had to take it down. At this moment, Sakomo, who had been looking at him, spoke. "Human Lord. What are you playing at?" It said telepathically. "What are you pretending for? Anyone who's not a fool can tell what you want to do." Zhou Zhou could not be bothered to be hypocritical with him and fell out with him. You should want to capture this place, right? We won't stop you. Actually, our Nether Bark Kingdom has no intention of becoming enemies with you. We're only here this time because we have many years of enmity with the Taiyan Kingdom. Since you want to attack it too, I'll leave it to you. We're leaving. With that, it waved its right hand and a huge black flying ship appeared. The most obvious thing on it was a black kobold statue of the god of death, Thanatos, which was 1,000 meters tall. The 2 million soldiers of the Nether Bark army immediately turned into a tide of soldiers that rushed towards the black flying ship. You come and go as you please. What do you take us for? Zhou Zhou said coldly. The 9 million soldiers under his command immediately charged at the 2 million kobold soldiers. When Sakomo saw this scene, it sighed softly. Then, its expression became serious. It's time for me to offer my faith to His Excellency. It flew in front of all the soldiers of the Nether Bark Kingdom and sat cross-legged in the void. Right on the heels of that, it closed its eyes and began to pray in the kobold language. The prayer content was the content of the Death Holy Scripture. This was the Bible of the God of Death Church. It was a religious supreme classic that all the believers of the God of Death had to master. As its prayer slowly expanded, its body and face began to decrepify at a very fast speed. When its prayer had already expanded to be heard by the entire battlefield, its body had already become extremely decrepit, looking like an old kobold withered. Boom! An extremely terrifying pressure suddenly appeared on the battlefield. Then, a huge black figure 10,000 meters tall gradually appeared behind Sakomo. All the living beings on the battlefield seemed to have seen their lives end when they saw this black figure. Countless life forms suddenly came to a realization. The god of death had descended. Chapter 5:11 Fighting Sakomo, 1. Under the terrifying god spirit pressure, even the 2 million kobold soldiers of the Nether Bark army also trembled, even though they were under less pressure under Sakomo's intentional protection. Their speed back to the black flying ship could not help but slow down a lot. In front of Sakomo, the 9 million soldiers who were deliberately targeted suffered the pressure of all the gods of death. However, what Sakomo found unbelievable was that the 9 million soldiers in front of it did not seem to be affected by the pressure of the gods that ordinary races could not resist. They did not seem to feel much. This human lord is indeed not easy to deal with. Sakomo's expression was solemn. This human lord definitely had some special methods up his sleeve. On the 9 million soldiers' side, Zhou Zhou looked at the god of death, which was 10,000 meters tall, with a solemn expression. Then, he seemed to have seen through something and his frown relaxed slightly. It's not the real god of death. It should only be a divine power projection. He heaved a sigh of relief. He had the secret inheritance of the dragon race in his mind, so he could easily see through this method. This should be the other party's hero skill, god of death descend. It's strong. However, it would be an exaggeration to say that it is super strong. He glanced at his soldiers. The soldiers and other professionals in his territory were all dragon slayer and were naturally immune to high-level bloodline pressure. God spirits could essentially be seen as a high-level bloodline, and it was an extremely high-level bloodline. Therefore, the pressure of the god of death's divine power projection was also immune to his subjects. Towards this, Zhou Zhou was not worried that his subjects would be exposed as dragon slayers. There were many methods in the myriad worlds that were immune to the pressure of high-level bloodline god spirits after all. The unique thing about the dragon slaying will was that it was not immune to the pressure of a high-level bloodline and could also increase its strength by up to 2 levels while being immune. Green bronze tier to yellow gold tier. This was the most abnormal thing about the dragon slaying will. As long as his soldiers did not reveal their ability to increase their strength greatly at the same time, it was almost impossible for others to guess their dragon slayer identity. At this moment, he saw Sakomo suddenly stand up from its cross-legged position. Right on the heels of that, it raised its hands, and a transparent cobalt soul emitting a faint white light flew out of its head and fused into the projection of the god of death behind it. After the god of death's projection fused with Sakamo's soul, its strength and pressure suddenly increased, reaching the strength of a legendary tier. At the same time, its form quickly transformed into Sakamo. It opened its blood-red eyes, drew two black sabers from its back, and charged towards Zhou Zhou's 9 million troops. Seeing this scene, there was no need for Zhou Zhou to order. Suen and Guoqiao had already stood up immediately and flew toward Sakamo in the god of death descend state. During the process of flying over, Suen had already transformed into the 10,000-meter tall Night Rakshasa. In his 3 heads and 6 arms state, he held 6 blood shadow swords and looked like a blood god from hell. At this moment, Guoqiao was also wearing blood-red armor and holding 2 blood-red axes. His aura had already recovered to its peak. He had already completely healed his injuries on the way here under the joint treatment of the 10 legendary tier elementary grade doctors. The current Guoqiao had not only recovered from diamond tier elementary grade to epic tier elementary grade at his peak, his strength even broke through again with the help of Bloodbath Song because he had absorbed the divine blood of the god he had killed and directly advanced to the epic tier advanced grade. Zhou Zhou was even more glad that he had obtained the legendary tier ancestral enhancement from the Imperial Ancestral Temple today. If not for the 10 temporary legendary elementary grade doctors provided by the legendary tier ancestral enhancement, he did not know how long it would take him to find a doctor who could treat Guoqiao's injuries. Everyone, attack together. Fight to live or fight to our death. Zhou Zhou came back to his senses and ordered. Yes. The 9 million soldiers roared in unison. Then, they immediately launched all kinds of long-range attacks at the huge Sakamo. On the battlefield. When Sakamo, who was in the god of death's descend state, saw Suen, Guoqiao, and the terrifying collective attack behind them, its expression immediately turned serious without too much fear. With a thought, a layer of black skin appeared on the surface of its body, making it look like it was wearing tight light armor. When the 9 million soldiers landed on the black membrane on its body, these attacks seemed to have fallen into water and disappeared. This was one of the 3 pseudo-law skills it had mastered under the god of death's descend, divine power armor. Even though it was not as powerful as a true law skill, it was not a problem to ignore normal attacks below the epic tier. At this moment, Guoqiao had already rushed in front of him. Dragon Slayer. He roared angrily and slashed down at Sakamo with both axes in his hands. There was actually faint lightning flapping on the 2 axes, forming an illusory blood-colored axe blade more than 3,000 meters long in the air. Rumble. It was as if a divine lightning had struck. A large hole was actually split open in the black membrane on the surface of Sakamo's body by the illusory blood-colored axe blade. Black blood gushed out of the wound. Before it could drip onto the ground, it strangely disappeared into the air. Sakamo was shocked. Who is this guy? Normally speaking, only law skills could deal with law skills. Even if its law skill was only a temporary fake law skill, it shouldn't be so fragile. Why did this guy only use a hero skill to split open the divine power armor formed by its fake law skill? His 2 blades slashed through the crazily slashing Guoqiao until he was 700 to 800 meters away. Then, he hurriedly retreated and lowered his head to look at his wound. The wound on his chest was slowly recovering. It did not recover at an extremely fast speed as it had imagined. This hero skill actually countered its fake law skills so much. Sakamo looked at Guoqiao with a solemn expression. Could it be that this guy's hero skill was specially used to deal with law skills? At this moment, Wuxia had already rushed up again. Even though there was a world of difference between their sizes, Wuxia could release axe blades that were thousands of meters long, so he could fight Sakamo head-on. While fighting, Sakamo was also observing his surroundings. However, what made its heart solemn was that it did not see where Suen, who had rushed over with Guoqiao, was at all. This shrouded its heart in a layer of gloom. Since you're not coming out, I'll deal with this person in front of me first. A cold glint flashed across its eyes. Then, he slashed open Wuxia with his saber and put his sabers together. Hero skill, Death Cross Slash. This was originally an ordinary epic tier hero skill. However, in the state of the God of Death descend, it was also tainted with a trace of the aura of the God of Death's divine power and had the weak power of the law of death. Die. A furious roar. A black cross emitting a rich aura of death shot out from its two sabers and attacked Wuxia. Wuxia also felt that this move was not to be trifled with and prepared to dodge. However, at this moment, Sakomo suddenly looked deeply at Wuxia with its blood-red eyes. Fake law skill, Fear of Death. Chapter 512 Fighting Sakomo, 2. At this moment, Wuxia felt that there was only this pair of eyes left in the world. Its eyes seemed to contain the ultimate fear of all life forms towards the concept of death. Wuxiao's body stiffened. Then, under Sakomo's dumbfounded gaze, an extremely fanatical expression actually erupted in his eyes. Talent, Death of Glory. Hero skill, Gods of Dusk. The former could allow him to become stronger the more he died. The latter could ignore any life form, even if the god spirits attached a mental negative buff to it. For example, the ultimate fear from the concept of death in front of him. To Wuxiao, fighting to death in battle with a noble bloodline life form was the way he yearned to die the most. Most life forms might be afraid of such death. However, he thought that this was the best resting place for him. He was naturally not frightened by such a death. Ha ha ha. Wuxiao laughed fanatically. Then, he ignored the cross-shaped blood mark on his heart, as if he could not feel that his heart had stopped beating. He held the sharp axe and slashed at Sakomo. Hero skill, Dragon Slaying Axe Technique. The dragons here did not only refer to pure-blooded dragons. It referred to all living beings with noble bloodlines. This was a hero skill specially targeted at noble bloodline life forms. It was also a rather profound combat skill. Sakomo felt extremely threatened by this hero skill. It held two sabers and fought with all its might, but it was suppressed by its exquisite combat skills and was clearly at a disadvantage. More and more wounds appeared on Sakomo's body. This made its expression extremely ugly. However, in the next second, Wuxiao, who was sent flying, threw the blood axe in his hand over. The blood axe was like lightning. In the blink of an eye, it slashed across his right arm and cut off his black star saber. Even Sakomo could not help but cry out in pain. This was because it was possessed by a soul. This strike did not slash at its body, but its soul. The latter was 1,000 times more painful than the former. At this moment, an extremely shocking death crisis suddenly descended on his heart. And then, it realized that the sky suddenly darkened. Or rather, it realized that the world it was in had turned black, as if it was enveloped by a black curtain. In this dark world, Sakomo realized that its perception was greatly restricted. At this moment, a blood shadow suddenly appeared in front of him. It was the Night Rakshasa sword god, Suan. He slashed gently with his sword, cutting off Sakomo's left arm. Sakomo did not have time to think when he saw this. He hurriedly controlled the two black star sabers to fly back and slash at Suan in front of him. Suan, who had been struck, actually turned into a blood shadow and disappeared. Another Suan appeared behind Sakomo and cut off its right leg. After Sakomo controlled the black star slash to fly over again, he realized that this Suan was also a blood-colored phantom. Suan's blood shadows appeared one after another and quickly disappeared after cutting off a portion of Sakomo's body. After repeating it for the 9th time, Suan's 9th sword cut off Sakomo's head. Suan's 9th sword cut off Sakomo's head. As expected of a believer of the god of death, Suan said calmly when he saw the smile on its face. The dark night screen he had set up disappeared. Then, he saw Wuxia with an unwilling expression. "You stole my enemy. This is not honorable," he said angrily. His injuries had already recovered with the help of the divine blood. Even his heart, which had stopped beating, began to beat healthily again. Suan said nothing. At this moment, there was no such thing as fairness and glory in his eyes. The most important thing for them was to deal with the target as quickly as possible. Still, this guy was really strong. Stronger than him. If not for the fact that he had first cut through the black membrane on the other party's body and caused a flaw in the other party's physical defense, he would not have been able to deal with the other party so easily with the blood shadow kill. It might even be very difficult to achieve this outcome because it was a physical defense formed by a fake law skill. He did not have the same fake law skill or law skill to resist it. He did not even have a hero skill like the dragon-slaying axe technique that specialized in dealing with noble bloodlines. He only had normal attack skills. The Lord has countless experts under his command. Suan sighed. Yesterday, he was still the strongest expert in the Blazing Sun territory. Today, the person this title was referring to had changed. The pressure was really a little high. He did not say anything else and brought Sakamo's corpse to the Lord's location. As for the 2 million soldiers of the Nether Bark army, they had already withdrawn. Sakamo's death was not in vain. On the other side, Zhou looked at the kill notification in front of him. Your subject butcher, Wuxia, Knight Rakshasa Sword God, Suan has killed an epic tier elementary grade death spirit servant, Sakomo. Obtained promotion energy plus 400 million. Loots condensed. Blessing of the War God, your subject butcher, Wuxia, Knight Rakshasa Sword God, Suan has obtained an additional 8 billion promotion energy points. Your subject butcher, Wuxia, Knight Rakshasa Sword God, Suan's hero biography has been updated. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. These two subordinates did not disappoint him. After using the God of Death Descend, the epic tier elementary grade Sakamo's strength had already reached the legendary tier. Moreover, it was a legendary tier expert who could use pseudo-law skills. However, even such an expert was killed by Suan and Wuxia. He was really strong. As expected of a talent with reputation rating and mythical reputation rating. Soon, Suan brought Sakamo's corpse to Zhou, followed closely by Wuxia. It's because I'm not capable enough to keep the 2 million Nether Bark army soldiers alive. Suan lowered his head. Wuxia also reacted and hurriedly lowered his head. It's fine. You two have already done quite well. Zhou smiled. He really did not care about the 2 million Nether Bark Legion soldiers who had escaped. On the contrary. If he killed 2 million Nether Bark Legion soldiers and escaped from Sakomo, he might not be satisfied. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. Zhou put away Sakamo's corpse and prepared to retrieve the loots later. Then, he flew to the front of the soldiers and looked at the dark blue Divine Dragon Barrier. Vast Sea Divine Dragon Barrier, it's really a good capital protection facility. Zhou muttered. Then, he looked at the king of the Taiyan kingdom who was looking at him with a dark expression in the middle of the capital. Taiyan. You've been watching us since we arrived. Have you seen enough? Zhou said calmly. His voice spread throughout a radius of 50 kilometers. His perception was astonishing. When he first arrived, he felt a burning gaze from the capital. At a glance, he knew that this guy was the king of the Taiyan kingdom after seeing the monster information. King Taiyan naturally heard it. However, it did not say anything and only looked at it coldly. Zhou did not say anything. His gaze landed on the vast sea divine dragon barrier again, and his heart suddenly skipped a beat. He flipped his right hand, and a diamond tier advance grade bow appeared in his hand. Then, he drew the bow. The chaotic origin energy in his body surged out, forming a chaotic arrow on the bow. Bang! The bow was like a thunderbolt. The chaotic arrow turned into a chaotic stream of light and landed on the vast sea divine dragon barrier in the blink of an eye. Creak! The arrow was embedded deep in the barrier. Then, cracks quickly spread in all directions with its landing point as the center. Rumble! Under the dumbfounded gazes of everyone and the monsters, the vast sea divine dragon barrier that the 2 million Netherbark army soldiers had tried their best to attack for such a long time but could not break, actually shattered with a bang. Chapter 5:13 Shattering and Instant Death. The surrounding people and soldiers fell silent. Everyone's faces were filled with disbelief. A smile appeared on Zhou-Zhou's face. I didn't expect that a single arrow would trigger the law of shattering. Then, it directly shattered the vast sea divine dragon barrier. I thought I had to shoot at least a dozen arrows. He thought happily. This shattering law was indeed a law. The effect was indeed extraordinary. The protective facilities of a country's capital could not stop it at all. The 10% probability of triggering the law of shattering was already so strong. He wondered how the effect of the instant death law, which only had a 1% trigger rate, would be. At the thought of this, Zhou-Zhou had the urge to shoot an arrow. His gaze swept across the fog monsters in the capital and finally landed on King Tian. Are you willing to surrender? If you're willing to surrender to me with your subjects, I can spare the lives of your monster subjects and let them join my blazing sun territory and become my subjects. Zhou-Zhou thought for a while and said. The Tian King, the surrounding monster subjects, and the other monster subjects who heard Zhou-Zhou's words were stunned. You want our fog monsters to be your subjects? King Tian asked in disbelief. Zhou-Zhou nodded. Didn't you see the monster soldiers behind me? He pointed at the monster soldiers behind him. King Tian and the other monsters fell silent. They did see it. Moreover, what made them feel exaggerated was that this human lord, who had been summoned to the high continent by the supreme resistance, actually had more monster soldiers under his command than ordinary life forms. King Tian was silent for a long time before his eyes finally became determined. Our faith in the Crimson Overlord is extremely pure. Don't even think about us surrendering to you. It said with a serious expression. The surrounding monster subjects also looked like they were on the same side and had the same aura. Zhou-Zhou sneered in his heart. If you are really that loyal, then why are most of the scarlet crystals in your loot's shallow faith tier and true faith tier scarlet crystals? There are pitifully few pious tier and fanatic tier scarlet crystals, let alone Holy Spirit scarlet crystals. You should have seen the difference between us. It's useless to resist. If you don't surrender, only death awaits you. Your king will definitely die, but I can give you scarlet monster subjects a chance. After the battle starts later, as long as you put down your weapons, tie yourself up, and surrender, my soldiers won't kill you after the battle. Moreover, when you come to my territory in the future and become my subjects, the other subjects won't look at you strangely. You can enjoy the same rights and obligations as the other subjects. Also, Zhou-Zhou raised his hand and pointed at the Tian King. I will definitely reward whoever can kill King Tian. I mean what I say. He was certain. Actually, if not for the fact that it was almost night, he could not be bothered to say such words to persuade them to surrender. He would have directly asked the soldiers to charge. On the other side, King Tian's expression immediately darkened as soon as Zhou-Zhou finished speaking. The eyes of the other scarlet officials also flickered. Don't be afraid. It's going to be dark soon. This human lord won't be able to withstand the corrosion of the scarlet fog after dark. He will definitely retreat. King Tian hurriedly comforted the subjects. The subjects replied on the surface, but they were muttering in their hearts. Yes, the human lord would leave at night. But what about tomorrow? What about in the future? It wasn't like the days would continue to be dark, right? They did not say this out loud, but they already had other thoughts. In the sky. When Zhou Zhou saw that the other party had no intention of surrendering, he waved at the soldiers behind him without hesitation. Attack! There's no need to leave anyone alive. He said. Yes. The 9 million soldiers roared. Then, under the lead of the generals, they rushed towards the capital. At this moment, there were less than 100,000 soldiers in the capital to begin with. This was because the other soldiers had already been sent to Left Guardian City to fight the Titan army. Now, they had all been dealt with by Zhou Zhou. Therefore, the current capital of the Taiyan Kingdom was almost equivalent to an undefended city without the vast sea divine dragon barrier. As the soldiers attacked, the situation on the battlefield was almost one-sided towards Zhou Zhou. During this period, Zhou Zhou also tried to trigger the instant death law. In the end, he only triggered it once after shooting nearly 200 arrows. After the fog monster with the bare body and dog head triggered the law of instant death, its entire body fell to the ground. Even its soul disappeared. This made Zhou Zhou sigh. What a terrifying instant death law. A moment later, the capital was captured by Zhou Zhou's soldiers. King Taiyan and all its important subjects were captured by the experts of the Blazing Sun territory. Heaven Blood Hall. Zhou Zhou sat casually at the place where the Taiyan king and his subjects had discussed the state affairs in the past. Below were the important subjects of the Taiyan kingdom who were being detained. At the front of them was a corpse. It was the corpse of King Taiyan. This king who had ruled the Taiyan kingdom for nearly 100 years could not escape the fate of being stabbed in the back by his subordinates. Zhou Zhou's gaze landed on a fog monster with purplish-red skin and a slender body. It had 2 sharp antennae on its head and was wearing a purple minister's outfit. That was it. When King Taiyan was not paying attention, a dagger stabbed into his back and ended his life. Then, it immediately bound itself and pretended to surrender obediently. That was why it was still alive. What's your name? What's your position? Zhou Zhou asked with interest. Reporting to my lord. My name is Cecil. In the past, I was a second-grade clothes officer in charge of Taiyan's daily life. Cecil hurriedly flattered. You did well to assassinate King Taiyan. I won't go back on my word. From now on, you are my lord's subject. When I officially control the entire Taiyan kingdom, you can choose a territory below the yellow gold tier from many territories as your territory and become the lord of the territory. In the future, as long as you don't violate the laws of our Blazing Sun territory and do what the city lord of your territory should do, you will continue to be the city lord of your territory. Zhou Zhou said. Thank you for the reward, your majesty. I will definitely bear the responsibility of the city lord well and not disappoint your majesty. When Cecil heard Zhou Zhou's words, its eyes immediately became loyal and excited. It immediately knelt on the ground and said excitedly and respectfully. Chapter 514 Epic Tier Lord Talent. Emperor Dragon Emperor Robe. Zhou Zhou nodded. Then, his gaze landed on these subjects of the Taiyan kingdom. There were a total of more than 50 fog monsters. He sized them up one by one while checking their attribute information. Facing the human lord's gaze, the scarlet officials trembled slightly with terrified expressions, afraid that they would do something to displease this human lord. However, there were also monster subjects who were looking forward to it while feeling terrified. Cecil's example proved that this human lord really did not care about their identity as monsters. They could survive and might even be placed in an important position by this human lord. A moment later, Zhou Zhou retracted his gaze and was a little happy. These fog monster subjects were indeed extraordinary to be able to become King Taiyan's subordinates here. He had just looked at their attribute information and realized that none of their professional levels were lower than the extraordinary tier. The lowest was at the extraordinary tier elementary grade. There was even an epic tier intermediate grade blacksmith. Its official position in the Taiyan kingdom was a weapons refinement officer. It was in charge of refining high-quality weapons and equipment. Their potential was also quite good. Most of them had extraordinary tier and epic tier potential. Moreover, Zhou also discovered 3 monster generals with legendary tier potential. These were all the strange talents accumulated by the Taiyan kingdom in the past 100 years. They were all his now. I want to obtain a large number of high-level professionals to satisfy the requirements to upgrade my territory. Capturing a kingdom-level lord faction is the fastest. You're all people who have already taken the initiative to surrender. You should be willing to be my subjects, right? His gaze landed on these monster subjects and he asked calmly. Yes. Of course. We're very willing to be the Lord's subjects. After hearing Zhou's words, these monster subjects hurriedly replied. Then work hard in my territory in the future. As long as you can work hard here and make up for your mistakes. You've worked for King Taiyan here in the past and even studied how to deal with us, he'll pretend that nothing happened. If you do well, I won't mistreat you. Zhou said calmly. Thank you, my lord. The monster subjects could not help but be overjoyed. Then, they said gratefully. Zhou watched this scene calmly. If not for his lord talent, peace and prosperity, he would probably have killed these fog monsters in front of him like other normal lords of all races. The fog monsters and the life forms of all races were natural mortal enemies. Which fog monster was really willing to submit to the lords of all races? Just like how the fog monsters rarely took the life forms of all races as captives. He did not think too much about it. His gaze landed on the corpse of the Taiyan king in front of him. Monster information appeared. Item name, Taiyan's corpse, kingdom level Scarlet Lord, item level, extraordinary tier advanced grade, item effect, contains unextracted loots. Item description, the corpse of the current king of the Taiyan kingdom. When he was alive, he made many important decisions for the development of the Taiyan kingdom with his astonishing sense of smell and decisiveness. However, it had also caused many major losses to the Taiyan kingdom because he trusted his sense of smell too much. Overall, he could be considered a wise lord. After the capital was breached by the Lord of the Blazing Sun's army, he was assassinated by the clothes officer below. Loot's drop rate, 100 extraordinary tier mist cores, drop rate, 100%, 500 origin crystals, drop rate, 100%, 1 special outfits Black Dragon's prestige, drop rate, 15%, 1 special equipment King Gem, drop rate, 10%, 1 special tier skill book, King Technique, drop rate, 10%, 1 epic tier elementary grade Vast Sea Divine Dragon Barrier, drop rate, 8%, 1 pious tier Scarlet Crystals, drop rate, 3%, 1 extraordinary tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere, drop rate, 0%, 6 extraordinary tier. Elementary grade Lord Talent Crystal Fragment, 0%. Zhou walked over and placed his hand on the corpse before starting to extract it. Lord Talent Notification, your loots have been enhanced by the King of Loots, Perfect Loots. Grade +1. Title hint, your loots have been affected by the title of the strongest lord. The number of loots has increased by 150%. Lord Talent Notification, you have obtained perfect loots, 250 mist cores, epic tier, 1,500 origin crystals, 3 Emperor Dragon Sacred Robes, special tier, 3 Emperor Gems, special tier, 3 Emperor Heart Technique skill books, special tier, 1 legendary tier elementary grade Sun Moon Heavenly Barrier, 1 Scarlet Crystals, fantastic tier, 1 Lord Talent Sphere, epic tier, 15 Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, epic tier. With a thought, he put away the loots that had yet to drop on the ground into his spatial ring. Even with Zhou's usually calm mentality, he could not help but look happy when he saw the loots in the spatial ring. The effect of the strongest lord of all races and the strongest lord of all races increasing the number of loots by 150% was too strong. It directly turned the original 6 extraordinary tier Lord Talent crystal fragments into 15 epic tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. With so many Lord Talent crystal fragments, he could synthesize an epic tier Lord Talent sphere to awaken a new epic tier Lord Talent or upgrade an extraordinary tier Lord Talent to the epic tier. Not to mention the epic tier Lord Talent provided by Taean. Awesome! He sat on the throne again and ignored the monster subjects who were still waiting for him to speak. He checked the loots. There was naturally no need to mention the mist cores and origin crystals. He looked at the clothes of the 3 yellow gold tier dragons that were completely golden and had an extremely dignified yellow gold tier dragon swimming on the surface. The yellow gold tier dragon was lifelike and looked like it was real. A text notification appeared. Outfit name, Emperor Dragon Robe, Outfit grade, Special tier, Outfits effect 1, Emperor Dragon Prestige, a life form wearing the Emperor Dragon Robe will emit an invisible Emperor's prestige with every move, making countless life forms revere him. At the same time, he can ignore the pressure type ability exerted on him by any life form and take the initiative to counterattack. Set attribute 2, Emperor Dragon Disposition, life forms wearing the Emperor Dragon Robe can easily obtain the active loyalty of other life forms and gradually increase the loyalty of the surrounding people. Set attribute 3, Emperor Dragon Protection, when a living being wearing the Emperor Dragon Robe is attacked, the soul of the Emperor Dragon attached to the Emperor Dragon Robe will automatically defend against this attack and can take the initiative to counterattack to a certain extent. Set attribute 3, Emperor Dragon Transformation, life forms wearing the Emperor Dragon Emperor Robe can change their clothes, body, and face to any form on the surface. At the same time, they can also hide their stats information. Life forms below the true God tier can't see through the changes in the Emperor Dragon Emperor Robe. Introduction, the Emperor Dragon, a legendary dragon born from the providence of the Emperor. Legendary tier every life form wearing the yellow gold tier Emperor Dragon Robe will become the world's attention-grabbing emperor in the future. Good outfit. Zhou's eyes lit up. From the name and effect, he knew that this outfit was for the Lord. Just in time. The new wind ceremony he used to wear could no longer keep up with him. It was the perfect time to change into a new set. Moreover, there were a total of 3 Emperor Dragon robes, so he could change them as and when. Zhou took out one and put it on. A large number of notifications appeared in front of him. These people and monsters that had increased their loyalty were the ones looking at him in this hall. A top-grade outfit. Zhou sighed. Chapter 515 Emperor's Gem. Emperor's Heart Technique. Sun and Moon Heavenly Barrier. Zhou looked at the second special loots. They were 3 12-faced gems that emitted a golden light. Treasure name, Emperor's Gem, Treasure grade, Special tier, Treasure effect. It can be used to trade and obtain a large number of mist cores. It is also a collectible. It can also be embedded in the equipment to decorate the equipment when forging equipment. Treasure description, the Emperor of Gems is the most precious gem below the God tier gem. It is often used by life forms to collect or decorate. If you sell it, you will obtain a large number of mist cores. Trade. Collectible. Decoration. So it's just a collectible. Zhou shook his head. He was not very interested in such things and would hand it over to the mysterious caravan later and see if he could sell it. Then, he looked at the next loots. The Emperor Heart Technique. Skill name, Emperor Heart Technique, Skill quality, Special tier, Skill description. After using it, the user will gradually understand and master the path of an emperor in the future when dealing with the territory's matters. He will gradually become a qualified, outstanding, and even legendary emperor. There's actually such a skill book. Zhou was shocked. It did not seem to have any active effect, but if it could really allow him to gradually master the path of the emperor while dealing with the territory's matters as it described, it was indeed the skill that Zhou Zhou needed the most now. Zhou Zhou had only become a lord for a short time. He did not know much about what many lords should understand. This was also why he handed most of the territory's matters to Zheng Yuanqi, since he did not know how to deal with the territory problems. Only someone like Zheng Yuanqi, who had been the prime minister of the Aurora Kingdom for many years, could handle these territorial matters with his own hands. However, this method could only resolve it for a while. It could not be resolved for the time being. Zhou Zhou had to come into contact with, understand, and master the way to deal with the territory sooner or later. In particular, he was about to establish the #1 kingdom of the human race on the cerulean planet and become the monarch of a country. He needed to increase his ability in this aspect even more. He could not just rely on Zheng Yuanqi to do it. Otherwise, his subjects might suspect something over time. Was the Lord of the Blazing Sun Zheng Yuanqi or him? Zhou Zhou could not let such a thing happen. Therefore, he had to understand and master the way to deal with the territory's matters. This Emperor Heart technique was indeed the skill he lacked the most at the moment. Zhou Zhou did not hesitate and took out the book to learn. Soon, this Emperor Heart technique skill book turned into countless golden light spots and surged into his glabella. At this moment, Zhou Zhou felt memories of countless emperors dealing with political matters, military affairs, people's livelihoods, extraordinary humans, monsters, god spirits, and other national matters surge into his mind. There were too many of them. In the end, only a small portion of the memories were completely grasped by Zhou Zhou. The remaining emperor's memories were all hidden in the deepest part of his memories, waiting for him to gradually dig, use, and master them in the future. Zhou Zhou opened his eyes. The temperament on his body quietly changed. Under the hall, when the ministers saw the current Zhou Zhou, for some reason, their bodies tensed up. They did not dare to have any thoughts of disobeying, as if they were facing an emperor who had accumulated the might of an emperor for 10,000 years. If previously, Zhou Zhou had accumulated a little of the dignity and aura of a superior in his 20-odd days as a lord, then now, Zhou Zhou seemed to have become a big shot who had been in power for a long time in the eyes of everyone. It was even more terrifying than that. What's wrong with my lord? Why do I suddenly feel like he's a different person? It's simply like an ignorant young man who has just been born suddenly becoming a big shot with high authority. Bai Yun, who was closest to Zhou Zhou, looked at him in surprise. Wu Xian looked at Zhou Zhou with shining eyes. Unbelievable, this aura and gaze. He's many times stronger than Li Yuangan. My lord, he seems to have suddenly grown a lot. His eyes were filled with relief. It was naturally a good thing for subordinates like them to have such a lord as their lord on the throne. Zhou Zhou was also savoring his current feelings and the emperor's memories that he had just digested. Even though it's not a powerful attack skill or support skill, it can only be considered a passive skill at most. However, this Emperor Heart technique is simply too useful to me. It's indeed the skill I need the most at this stage. Zhou Zhou was very happy. From now on, he was no longer afraid of dealing with the territory's matters. On the contrary, he was even a little eager to give it a try after grasping so many emperor memories. There's no hurry. The kingdom is about to be established. When the time comes, there will be places for me to show my abilities. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. In addition, he was not the only one who wanted to test his ability to deal with government affairs. In the depths of his memories, the more comprehensive memories of the emperor also needed him to awaken them one by dealing with the territory's matters. If he could only be considered a qualified emperor now, then, if he wanted to grow to the level of being outstanding, and even the most powerful emperor in history, he had to deal with daily territory matters and master the emperor's memories hidden in his subconscious. After he completely grasped the memories of the emperors, it would not be an extravagant hope to become an existence at the same level as the one emperor of all ages. After a long time, he calmed down from obtaining the emperor's heart technique and looked at the next loots. It was a fist-sized circular light barrier. This light barrier was like Taiji and was divided into a black and a white light. The black light represented the night. On the surface, there was a sun-moon star that was slowly moving according to the circulation pattern. The white light represented daytime. On the surface, there was a sun that was also moving slowly according to the circulation pattern. It was the quality of the vast sea divine dragon barrier plus 1 loots, sun-moon heavenly barrier. Treasure name, Sun and Moon heavenly barrier, treasure grade, legendary tier elementary grade, treasure effect, Sun and Moon cycle. After activation, it can absorb the light elemental energy in dark elemental energy from the outside world as the energy reserve of the Sun and Moon heavenly barrier. It is used for daily maintenance. There is no need for additional external energy replenishment. Treasure effect, Sun-Moon heavenly blessing. After activation, it can resist the attack energy of the outside world. It can completely defend against legendary tier elementary grade attacks. The upper limit of its defense is equivalent to a controller's strength realm plus 1. Treasure effect, Heart of Sun and Moon. The energy density in the air has increased by 1000% within a radius of 1000 kilometers of the Sun and Moon heaven barrier. Treasure effect, Sun and Moon revolving. The treasure controller can adjust the day and night changes of the Sun and Moon as heavenly cover by consuming the reserve of light and darkness energy, thereby increasing their strength. Daytime, increases the strength of the Sun and Moon in the heaven barrier by an additional 30%. During the moonlit night, increases the damage reduction by an additional 30% in the Sun and Moon heaven barrier. Sun and Moon in the sky, increases the strength of the Sun and Moon in the sky barrier by an additional 30% and reduces additional damage by 30%. Treasure description, a special military formation treasure created by the Sun and Moon Daoist after imitating an ancient array formation. After failing, he traded it. Later, it was obtained by the king of the Taiyan kingdom and was treated as a treasure to protect the country. Chapter 516 Kingdom Golden Tablet. A military formation treasure. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. He had heard of such a treasure from Wuxia. Such military formation treasures did not need the user to have any understanding of military formations. As long as the energy in their bodies could drive the treasure, they could directly use the military formation engraved in the treasure. It was a shortcut for generals who were unwilling to learn military formations but needed them to fight. If I directly placed the Sun and Moon heaven barrier on the battlefield and activated the Sun and Moon heaven barrier during battle, I can directly increase the strength of my soldiers by 30%. Zhou Zhou was very satisfied with the effect of this treasure. Most importantly, it could be stacked with the 100% additional strength increase and 50% additional damage reduction of the title of the strongest lord. Which meant his soldiers could almost immediately increase their strength by 130% and reduce additional damage by 80% on the battlefield with the enhancement of the title of the strongest lord and the Sun and Moon together. The soldiers' combat strength and life-saving abilities would be greatly enhanced. Then, when he saw the words, unclaimed, at the back, he chose to let it recognize him as its master without hesitation. Zhou Zhou put it away after that. As for the final epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere, it was not too late to look at it when he returned. Now he had more important things to do. Do you know where the kingdom token is? Zhou Zhou asked Ansel. I know. The kingdom token is in the king's temple of the Taiyan kingdom. That's the most tightly guarded place in the entire capital of the Taiyan kingdom. Other than the statues of the previous kings of the Taiyan kingdom, there's also the kingdom's golden tablet. The kingdom token is in the kingdom's golden token. Ansel replied respectfully. Take me there. Su and Wuxiao, you guys come with me. As for the others, clean up the entire palace, collect and organize the loot here. Zhou Zhou said. Yes, your majesty. Yes, my lord. Ansel was delighted and immediately said. Suan and Guoqiao also nodded respectfully. Then, Ansel brought Zhou Zhou, Suan, and Guoqiao to the king's temple. Zhou Zhou looked at the ferocious, mighty, evil, and cold statues of the Taiyan king in front of him. He walked over calmly, not even interested in taking a look at these statues. They arrived in front of the kingdom's golden tablet in no time. This was a golden stone tablet that was more than 10 meters tall and seemed to emit a mysterious dignity. However, Zhou Zhou did not care. There was only excitement and anticipation in his expression. He looked at its endurance. Good God! A total of 10 billion. His white platinum tier intermediate grade territory stone tablet only had 20 million endurance. There was a difference of 50 times. As expected of the kingdom's golden token. Suan, Guoqiao, break it. Zhou Zhou took a deep breath and said in a low voice. Fortunately, he had Suan and Guoqiao, two epic tier experts by his side. Otherwise, he would have to go back and find someone to shatter the golden tablet. Yes, my lord, X2. The two of them began to attack the golden stone tablet with all kinds of methods without hesitation. Under the joint attack of the two epic tier experts, the endurance of the kingdom's golden token began to decrease at a speed visible to the naked eye. A moment later, there was a loud bang. The 10-meter-tall kingdom golden tablet collapsed with a bang. The three tokens floated in the original position of the golden tablet. Two of them, one was an extraordinary tier regional token from the capital of the Taiyan kingdom. The other was the extraordinary tier advanced grade territory token of the Taiyan kingdom. As for the last token, it was completely golden. It was the extraordinary tier advanced grade kingdom token used by the Taiyan kingdom when it was founded. Zhou Zhou took a deep breath and walked over. He first put away the territory token and regional token. Then, he looked at the kingdom token and finally placed his hand on it. A text notification appeared. Do you want to collect the kingdom token? Yes. Zhou Zhou said. As soon as he finished speaking, the floating kingdom token seemed to have lost its power and landed in his hand. Then, lines of golden text suddenly appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. It also appeared in front of billions of Cerulean Planet Lords. Cerulean Planet World Channel Lord Announcement, congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun, becoming the first Lord to break through a kingdom-level Lord faction. Reward, Supreme Treasure Chest +1, Reputation Rating +5. Cerulean Planet World Channel Announcement, congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun, Cerulean Planet World Channel Announcement, congratulations to the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. Is it just a Lord announcement on the Cerulean Planet's entire channel? What a pity. He thought that this matter would trigger the announcement of the Lord of all races on the entire channel again. He thought that this matter would trigger the announcement of the Lord of all races on the entire channel again. Well, actually, breaking through a kingdom-level Lord faction could be done as long as one was strong enough. For example, the true Lord of the original Spirit race, the Great One Lord of the Chaos God race, the Heaven-chasing Lord of the Shepherd race, and other powerful lords. If they used their full strength, they might be able to break through a kingdom, but they might suffer heavy losses. Not like him. It was not an exaggeration to say that they would be easily crushed. If this could appear on the entire channel of the Lords of all races, then this announcement would be too casual. One had to know that he had obtained first place in a Lord's event and was lucky enough to appear on the announcement once. A request of this level was definitely impossible to equate to breaking through the strength of a kingdom-level Lord. Still, you can't appear on the announcement of the Lord of all races if you break through a kingdom. What about building a kingdom? What about establishing the first kingdom among the Lords of all races? Zhou Zhou thought to himself. The more he thought about it, the harder his heart pounded. There were 3 requirements for establishing a kingdom. First, Possess an extraordinary tier advance grade treasure, kingdom token. He had naturally achieved it. Secondly, it had at least 30 regional territories, and at least one of them was an extraordinary tier regional territory to be the capital of the kingdom. Zhou Zhou had reached this level. He had conquered a total of 48 territories today alone. As for extraordinary tier regional territories, the Taiyan Kingdom King was one of them. However, Zhou Zhou did not plan to set this place up as the capital of the Blazing Sun Kingdom in the future. The capital of the Blazing Sun Kingdom naturally had to be Blazing Sun City. When he returned today, he would use the territory fusion certificate to fuse Blazing Sun City into an extraordinary tier regional territory. He had previously exchanged for a gradeless territory fusion certificate. As long as they used it to fuse Blazing Sun City with the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom, the Blazing Sun territory would naturally be able to successfully advance to the extraordinary tier regional territory. In the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom. So be it. It was not as important as building a kingdom. As for the third condition, it was even easier to have at least 3 heroes of the same race in the kingdom who could protect the kingdom. He already had a total of 6 human heroes under his command. It had long exceeded the requirements to build a kingdom. After I return today, I'll increase the level of Blazing Sun City's regional territory and then I can build a kingdom. Zhou Zhou thought to himself, looking forward to it. Chapter 5:17 Taiyan's Treasure Vault. Divine Crystal Fragment. 1. At the thought that he was going to build a kingdom tonight, Zhou Zhou's heart surged for a while before gradually calming down. Then, he inadvertently glanced at it and realized that after the Lord announcement on the Cerulean planet's entire channel, a few notifications that were not so obvious appeared in front of him. Zhou Zhou looked at them one by one. Lord Talent notification, congratulations, you have captured a kingdom and triggered the white silver tier Lord Talent embrace of the conqueror. You have obtained the loyalty of a hero with an extraordinary tier hero fate level slot. The Lord of the End class hint, you have destroyed a beginner kingdom level Lord faction and collected 20% of the power of the Law of the End. The grade of the crown of the final has increased by another step. Current collection progress of the power of the final law, 0%, the Lord of the End class hint, you have destroyed a beginner kingdom level Lord faction and collected 100 points of final Nirvana power progress. You can use 100 points of final Nirvana power to exchange for a chance to revive after death and increase your strength greatly after revival. Current power of final Nirvana, 100 points, current number of resurrections, 0, the Lord of the End class hint, you have destroyed a beginner kingdom level Lord faction. A member of the final guard has received your summon. You can summon him. Current number of members of the final guard, 1, summonable. Zhou Zhou looked at these notifications and could not help but smile. As expected, it was very beneficial to him to break through a kingdom level faction. The loyalty of a hero with an extraordinary tier hero's fate level slot. A chance to revive. A Divine Kingdom Soldier Type A member of the Final Guard. He only captured a beginner kingdom and already had all these opportunities that other lords did not even dare to think about. Not bad, not bad. Zhou Zhou was very satisfied. I'll take a look at my final guard. Summon. He whispered. A grayish-white aura surged out of his glabella and formed a 2-meter-tall human in front of him. He wore a grayish-white helmet and grayish-white armor. He carried a grayish-white spear on his back and a grayish-white sword wrapped around his waist. His entire body emitted an aura that seemed to come from the end, making him look mysterious and serious. Greetings, my lord. He knelt on the ground and said calmly. Get up. Zhou Zhou helped him up and looked at his personal information. Subject, Jiang Yuan, Territory, Blazing Sun City, Soldier Type Class Name, Spear of the End, Strength Level, Diamond Tier Advance Grade, Synchronized with the Lord of the End, Ability Overview, a terrifying life form born from the end of the Lord of the End's exclusive soldier type. It has a body that can be constantly reborn and has mastered the laws of shattering and instant death. Even God's spirits will be afraid of their weapons. Skills, talent, spear genius, talent, agility and quickness, talent, innate divine power, divine kingdom soldier type talent, power of destruction, divine kingdom soldier type talent, law of shattering, divine kingdom soldier type talent, instant death law, divine kingdom soldier type talent, final disaster body, diamond tier advanced grade, final spear technique, diamond tier advanced grade, killing sword technique, diamond tier advanced grade, physical immunity, diamond tier advanced grade, loyalty, 100, dead loyal, potential, unknown. Zhou nodded. As expected of a divine kingdom soldier type. Just like Soul Reaper Maris, they both had divine kingdom soldier type talents. Unfortunately, there's only one of them. It would be even better if there were more final guard members. Zhou thought greedily. Then, he chatted with Jiang Yuan for a while. After learning more details about his soldier type abilities, he put it back into his spiritual space between his eyebrows. This summoning and retraction method was very safe and hidden. Zhou was also very satisfied. Then, he collected the tokens of the three kingdom golden tokens and carefully checked the king's temple again. In the end, he did not find any other treasures. This place is too poor. Zhou looked very disdainful. Ansel, where are the treasures in the Taiyan kingdom? Do you know? Zhou asked Ansel. Treasure? That must be Taiyan's treasure vault. Ansel said without hesitation. Treasure vault? Zhou's eyes lit up. Take me there. He immediately said. Yes, Your Majesty. Please follow me. Ansel immediately said and brought Zhou and the other two to the Taiyan treasure vault. Taiyan's treasure vault. Zhou looked at the technological silver treasure vault and frowned. Things from the Machina race. The Taiyan kingdom had existed for hundreds of years. After hundreds of years of accumulation, it was not strange for there to be something. He walked to the door of the treasure vault and realized that there was a very complicated password lock on the right side of its door. Who else knows the password to this password lock other than Taiyan? Zhou asked. Taro also knows about the four-armed Mara king. But it went out to fight with its troops previously and hasn't returned yet. I don't know any other person who may know about it. Towards the end, Ansel looked at Zhou carefully. Chapter 518 Taiyan's Treasure Vault. Divine Crystal Fragment. 2. Zhou said nothing. The four-armed Mara king, Taro had long become the hero inheritance secret manual in his hands. King Taiyan was also stabbed in the back and died. In other words, no one knew the password to open the Taiyan treasure vault. He thought for a moment and suddenly had an idea. Then, he stood on the spot and waited quietly without saying anything. 2 seconds later. A starry night suddenly flew over from afar and floated in the sky. The shadow of the spaceship enveloped Taiyan's treasure vault and everyone below. My lord, Wunya is here. Wunya's voice sounded in Zhou's mind. Can you open this treasure vault? Zhou asked. Please wait a moment, Wunya trailed off. Soon. My lord, the technology level of this treasure vault is at the diamond tier intermediate grade. With my computational ability, it will take about 39 minutes and 12 seconds to calculate the password to open it. However, it should be much faster if the Lord's Machina race clone takes action. Wunya trailed off. When Zhou heard the introduction, he felt that it was a little long. However, when he heard the last sentence, he was stunned. You mean my ultimate Lord Avatar? Zhou asked. Yes, my lord. In addition to Lord Mechanical Father's hero skills, super calculation and hero skill, true simulation, it will be much easier for him to calculate the password to open it. Wunya trailed off. Zhou Zhou was a little surprised. Honestly, he had only obtained this mythical tier unique lord talent for a short period of time. He usually subconsciously ignored his abilities. If not for Wen Ya's reminder, he would have almost forgotten that the ultimate lord, Zhou Zhou, could also help. Without hesitation, he called out the ultimate lord, Zhou Zhou. The ultimate lord, Zhou Zhou. His strength realm had already increased to the yellow gold tier elementary grade with the help of the unified core energy. After he came out, he did not say anything else. He went straight to the door and placed his palm on the position where he had entered the password. Then, his body emitted a faint silver light, and his eyes flickered with countless silver data light. More than 10 seconds later. Buzz, accompanied by a buzzing sound, the door of the Taiyan treasure vault that was still closed slowly opened, and the light of various treasures suddenly bloomed from inside. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he looked at the calm ultimate lord Zhou Zhou in surprise. I'm best at computing, and hero skills are related to calculus. It's very easy to crack this password. The ultimate lord, Zhou Zhou, said calmly. Zhou Zhou nodded and walked in with him, Suan, and Wuxia. In the treasure vault. When Zhou Zhou and the other three entered, they saw that this treasure vault that covered nearly 10,000 square meters was filled with all kinds of treasures. They looked over. Mist cores, equipment, skill books, pet eggs, high-level building materials, scrolls. There were all kinds of treasures, dazzling everyone. The most eye-catching thing was a small mountain more than 10 meters tall piled up by the mist cores. Zhou Zhou walked over and swept his mental strength across them. He realized that the lowest level of these mist cores was yellow gold tier. There were even 4 epic tier mist cores. There were also more than 500 extraordinary tier mist cores. Zhou Zhou was surprised. One had to know that the Taiyan kingdom did not have the heavenly mist treasure bag in his hand, so there was no way to obtain a higher level mist core by fusing with it. Which meant the extraordinary tier and epic tier mist cores in front of him were gradually accumulated through killing or trading in the hundreds of years since the Taiyan kingdom was established. They were placed in this treasure vault and could not be easily used. Perhaps the previous kings of the Taiyan kingdom wanted to use them as the last retreat route for the Taiyan kingdom. Now, it's all mine. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. He waved his right hand and put these mist cores into his heavenly mist treasure bag. Zhou Zhou also knew the total value of these mist cores when they entered his heavenly mist treasure bag. It was about the total value of 800 legendary tier mist cores. It's just as so. Looks like the Taiyan kingdom is not a rich kingdom. Zhou Zhou muttered in his heart. The 30 million skill books and 50 million pieces of equipment he had sold yesterday had sold more than 1,800 legendary tier mist cores, far exceeding the pile of mist cores in front of him. However, even so, he naturally did not mind these mist cores. Then, he began to stroll around the Taiyan treasure vault. Along the way, he casually picked up a bow and arrow. This bow and arrow was completely scarlet and emitted a faint fire light. It was warm to the touch and felt very good. Zhou Zhou sized up the bow carefully and quickly realized that there was an illusory figure like a fire phoenix swimming on the bow. At the same time, the equipment information appeared. Equipment name, Scarlet Phoenix Blood Jade Bow, Equipment Grade, Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade, Equipment Effect 1, Blood Phoenix Feather Arrow, use your own energy to communicate with the Scarlet Phoenix Blood Jade Bow and condense the power of the Phoenix Blood, forming a feather-shaped arrow with the Scarlet Phoenix Spirit Fire that shoots at the enemy. The Scarlet Phoenix Spirit Fire has 2 characteristics, indestructibility and burning. Only spiritual water of the same level can extinguish the Scarlet Phoenix Spirit Fire. Equipment Effect 2, Scarlet Phoenix Soaring Sky Arrow, form a Scarlet Phoenix Soaring Sky Arrow to shoot at the enemy at the price of consuming the Scarlet Phoenix True Blood in the bow. The Scarlet Phoenix Soaring Sky Arrow can kill epic tier elementary grade enemies at most. This seems to be a special equipment forged with a drop of Scarlet Phoenix True Blood as the core material. The owner of this drop of Scarlet Phoenix True Blood should be a low-tier deity-level Scarlet Phoenix. Otherwise, it's impossible to forge extraordinary tier equipment with just a drop of True Blood and unleash the power of the highest epic tier elementary grade. Zhou Zhou's gaze was sharp. He roughly understood the bow after playing with it for a while. He looked at it for a while more before putting away the bow and the 20 Blood Phoenix feather arrows beside it. He would hand them over to Bai Yun later. Bai Yun's current strength was extraordinary tier elementary grade, and this bow was also an extraordinary tier elementary grade weapon. No one in his territory was more suitable for this equipment than Bai Yun. Then, he did not stay any longer and continued to stroll around the treasure vault. When he encountered treasures that were suitable for him or his subordinates, he would directly put them into his spatial ring so that he could use them or hand them to his subordinates in the future. During the process of looking at the treasures, Zhou Zhou also realized that this treasure vault was indeed a treasure vault. There were all kinds of treasures preserved inside. The lowest was a yellow gold tier treasure. Moreover, there were the fewest treasures of this level. White platinum tier and diamond tier treasures were the most common. As for extraordinary tier and epic tier treasures, even though there were not many of them, they were all high quality. Moreover, there were also treasures that even Zhou Zhou, the king of loots, was very surprised by. For example, the treasure in Zhou Zhou's hand. It was a blue ball of light that emitted a faint lightning glow. The blue ball of light floated in Zhou Zhou's hand. A familiar pressure emitted from its body, making him secretly shocked. This pressure. Could it be? Zhou Zhou looked at it and suddenly had a guess that he could not believe. When its interface information appeared, Zhou Zhou's expression immediately became surprised and delighted. Really, Zhou Zhou muttered. Treasure name, Divine Spark Fragment, God of Glimmer, Treasure Grade, Low-tier Deity Advanced Grade, Treasure Effect. The user has a chance of comprehending a law skill from the fragment of the divine persona. Treasure description: this divine spark fragment came from a god of Glimmery who became a god with the law of Glimmery in the light spirit small world. Later on, this god spirit was killed by an abyssal evil god when he came to the high continent to pursue a higher god realm. The god spirit fragment accidentally fell into the Taiyan kingdom and was obtained by the 12th king of the Taiyan kingdom. It was stored in its treasure vault as its most precious treasure. That pressure is indeed the pressure of a god spirit. Zhou Zhou looked at the divine spark fragment and thought to himself. Then, he put it away. It was not convenient for him to comprehend it at this time. He would think about it when he returned. Chapter 519 Two New Lord Talents. 1. Apart from this divine spark fragment, Zhou Zhou also obtained the elemental gem resources that he had been longing for a long time. Among them, there were basic elemental gems and thunder elemental gems. His territory had the corresponding minerals and monster ranch production, so he did not lack them. However, he had obtained a lot of high-level elemental gems from the Taiyan treasury. There were 8,412 life elemental gems and 7,650 death elemental gems. With these gems, I can upgrade my territory when I go back. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. In the next half an hour, Zhou Zhou looked through the remaining treasures in Taiyan's treasure vault. In the end, he realized that there were about 30,000 treasures in this huge treasure vault. Among these treasures, there were those that Zhou Zhou was interested in and those that he was not. This is the first time I've felt that looking at treasures is boring. Zhou Zhou thought to himself with a smile on his face. It had to be said. This trip to the treasure vault had given him a taste of his own medicine. Then, he turned around and looked at the treasure vault. After sized up it for a while, he suddenly asked in his heart, Ultimate, Wuxia, can you take this treasure vault away? Sure. This Machina race's treasure vault has its own space compression and flying movement functions. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a small mobile treasure vault spaceship. You only need a command to take it away. Wenye did not speak. The ultimate lord, Zhou, said directly. Then take it away. This is not bad. It can be used as our territory's treasure vault in the future. From now on, it will no longer be called the Taiyan Treasure Vault. It will be called the Blazing Sun Treasure Vault No. 1. Zhou immediately said. Thanks to the vast amount of resources obtained by the King of Loots, he had been storing them in the territory's warehouse. Even though this territory warehouse could also store these resources, the safety was not very high, and the space was not very big. This mechanical treasury could completely replace the territory warehouse to store the excess loots for the development of the territory. That was why Zhou wanted the ultimate lord Zhou and Wenye to research a way to create it and create a few more. Wenye and I have a lot of research quests recently. I'm afraid we don't have that much time. The ultimate lord, Zhou said. He was currently studying the mechanical technology blueprints that he had obtained from Lord Father with Wenye. He was indeed very busy. It's okay. There's no hurry about the mechanical warehouse. We can arrange for it to be researched at the end. Zhou smiled and patted his shoulder. Yes, my lord. Wenye trailed off. The ultimate lord, Zhou, nodded. Then, he walked to the door and placed his hand on it. Right on the heels of that, he and the treasure vault emitted a silver glow at the same time. A few seconds later, the ground trembled slightly. Then, the huge Machina race treasure vault gradually floated up. Then, it quickly shrank and became a palm-sized mini Machina race treasure vault. Then, it flew in front of Zhou. Ansel, who had brought them here, was stunned at such a scene. Even Suan and Wuxia, who had seen Zhou's various methods, were somewhat shocked. On the other side, Zhou looked at the mini Machina race treasure vault in front of him. He took it and looked at it curiously. Then, he passed it to the Starry Night spaceship in the sky. Wenye, take it. When I return to Blazing Sun City, I'll just set it up in Blazing Sun City. Zhou said through mental communication. Yes, my lord. Wenye said respectfully. Zhou nodded and left with everyone. At this moment, the sky had already turned completely dark. The scarlet fog gradually filled the air. However, because the king's city of the Taiyan kingdom had already become Zhou's territory, the supreme barrier and the supreme defense had already appeared and protected this place, preventing the scarlet fog from invading. After a long time, Heaven Blood Hall. On the throne, Zhou was sitting alone with his eyes closed. An invisible aura of an emperor emanated from his body. Even if he did not say anything, the others were still a little cautious and uneasy. My lord. At this moment, Baihe's voice sounded. Zhou opened his eyes and saw Bai Yun standing at the bottom of the hall with a list. Reporting to my lord. General Wu Xian has already led his men to attack Right Guardian City and collected all the spoils of war that are worth taking away. After that, we retrieved all the spoils of war from the monster corpses. After calculating by our quartermaster, all the spoils of war for today have been sorted out. This is the specific list. Please take a look, my lord. Bai Yun said respectfully. Bring it up. Yes. Bai Yun brought the list to Zhou with both hands. Zhou took it and looked at it. Today, they had occupied a total of 48 regional territories and eliminated nearly 11 million fog monsters. Among these fog monsters, other than more than 2.4 million of them being fog monster soldiers, the remaining 9 million fog monsters were all fog monster civilians. Zhou naturally had no pity for these fog monster soldiers who had not been recruited by the Insight defection and could not be persuaded to surrender through verbal communication. He directly got the soldiers to deal with them. For today's battle, it was not an exaggeration to say that they had wiped out the entire Taiyan Kingdom's fog monsters. It was really amazing. In fact, it had also brought them quite shocking benefits. With the enhancement of the King of Loots and the title of the strongest lord, he obtained a total of loots, 48 regional tokens, green bronze tier to extraordinary tier. 512 territory tokens. Black iron tier to extraordinary tier, 140 epic tier mist cores, 3,120 extraordinary tier mist cores, 65,430 diamond tier mist cores, 162,350 white platinum tier mist cores, 1,018,920 yellow gold tier mist cores, 1,507,810 white silver tier mist cores, and 2,951,360 green bronze tier mist cores. There were 70,159,632 skill books and 111,104,521 pieces of equipment. Basic materials, 100 billion and 15 million units. For 95 green bronze tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 156 green bronze tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 12 green bronze tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 1 epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere and 1 extraordinary tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere. This was the list of loots. As for the improvement of the soldiers, there was no record of it for the time being because the triumphal arch hadn't passed today. He looked at the skill books and equipment on the list. Zhou thought for a moment and did not throw it into the marketplace as usual. The number of soldiers under his command could be said to be different every day. These skill books and equipment should be used on his soldiers first. After satisfying the needs of his soldiers, it would not be too late to throw the excess skill books and equipment to the marketplace to sell. How's the construction of the spatial teleportation array going? Zhou looked up and asked. Master Jing Hongzi is building a spatial teleportation array. It should be ready by tonight. Bai Yun said respectfully. Chapter 522 New Lord Talents, Part 2, Zhou nodded and said, then let the soldiers stay here for the night and arrange the things here. Well, bring the soldiers back to Blazing Sun City tomorrow morning. Leave this matter to one of your subordinates. Call Wu Xian, Wu Tu, Feng Luo, Luo Sheng, and the other important generals over. They'll return to the Blazing Sun territory with me later. I have something important to do. You have to be there. Zhou said in a low voice. The major event he was talking about was naturally the establishment of the first beginner kingdom of the human race on the Cerulean planet. This was a major matter that concerned the entire territory, so he naturally could not do it alone. Yes, my lord. Bai Yun said respectfully. She could vaguely guess what her lord was going to do, and a trace of passion flashed in the depths of her eyes. Then, she didn't waste any time and immediately turned around to call for help. A moment later. In an empty space in the palace. Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Feng Luo, Wu Tu, Luo Sheng, Suan, Guoqiao, Nazario, Auguste, Maris. All the important generals and subordinates who had followed Zhou since the establishment of Blazing Sun territory gathered here. Zhou looked at them and suddenly felt a surge of ambition in his heart. These were all the people who fought for the position of Lord of all races and chased after the Lord of all races. And this was only the beginning. In the future, his territory team would definitely continue to expand. All kinds of experts, generals, strategists, geniuses. They would all gather here and help him ascend to the higher peak of the lords of the myriad races. Let's board the ship. Let's return to Blazing Sun City. Yes. Everyone shouted. Then, they no longer hesitated and flew into the starry night that they had been waiting for a long time. Zhou entered last. Then, he chanted return to the city in his heart. The spaceship carrying Zhou and the Blazing Sun territory's generals and experts suddenly vanished into thin air. The Blazing Sun Territory. Under the Supreme Barrier. It was a peaceful time when all the houses were lit up. The Blazing Sun Territory was still very lively even though it was already very late. On the well-planned streets, the lifestyle professional subjects were doing their best to sell their goods. The other subjects were on the streets, chatting and laughing as they shopped and walked. It looked like a scene from the peaceful times. At this moment, a huge silver-black spaceship suddenly appeared in the sky. It was the Starry Night. Many subjects were used to this. Many of them looked at the spaceship with admiration and yearning. His Lordship is back. His Lordship is really busy. He comes back so late every day, but it's also because of this that we can live such a peaceful and happy life. I've already hired a craftsman to build a Lord statue at home and pray to the Lord every day. Huh, what a coincidence. It's the same at my house. Me too. Everyone laughed and discussed. On the other side. After Zhou Zhou brought his men down from the spaceship, he gave Bai Yun an order. Bai Yun, Wuxia, go and invite Vice City Lord Zheng and the important officials of the other territories over. Then, go to the administrative hall and let them discuss the development of the kingdom. Our kingdom will be established tonight. Get Vice City Lord Zheng and the others to discuss it and come up with a rough plan for the future development of the kingdom. I'll give you 2 hours to discuss it slowly. Don't be anxious. It doesn't matter if you don't have enough time. You can slowly perfect it in the future. I just want to see your general thoughts on how to develop the kingdom in the future. In the next 2 hours, I will prepare for the establishment of the kingdom. I'll look for you after I'm done here. Zhou Zhou said. When Bai Yun, Wuxia, and the others heard this, even though they were already prepared, they still felt pleasantly surprised when they really heard it. Oh my God! Blazing Sun Territory is about to become a kingdom. While they were excited, they were also emotional. How long had it been since their lord arrived in the high continent? 20 days tops, but he had already established a kingdom. These things did not happen even in novels. Even though he was supported by the supreme will, their lord's unbelievable territorial development methods were the important reason why they could reach their current state in such a short period of time. It could be said that the Blazing Sun Territory wouldn't be where it was today without their lord. Even though they had played a lot of roles in this process, they were still far inferior to the lord's methods. Yes. I'll go now. Bai Yun and the others said respectfully, then went to look for someone. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou also returned to his beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. In the study room of the beginner-grade Lord's Paradise, Zhou Zhou sat on the chair behind the desk. He was not in a hurry to establish a kingdom. Instead, he took out the 48 regional tokens he had obtained today and integrated them into his territory stone tablet. Then he waited quietly. A moment later, Zhou Zhou, who did not hear anything, raised his eyebrows slightly. He has more than 50 regional territories, but he didn't trigger a new lord announcement on the entire cerulean planet. Do I need 70 seats? Or 100 seats? He muttered to himself in confusion. The last time he fused with 30 regional territories, he triggered an all-channel lord announcement. He originally thought that more than 50 regional territories would be triggered again this time, but he did not expect it to not succeed. At this moment, a line of words that surprised him suddenly appeared in front of him. Supreme will notification: when the number of regional territories owned by a lord exceeds 30, the basic conditions for establishing a beginner kingdom have been reached. If you obtain more regional territories now, you will not be able to obtain the Lord Announcement achievement for the entire channel. At this moment, the only way for the Lord to obtain the Lord Announcement achievement was to advance further and conquer kingdom-level Lord factions. Zhou Zhou frowned slightly. So that was how it was. Then the difficulty would be much higher. After thinking for a while, he shook his head and stopped thinking about it. With his current Lord faction, it was not difficult for him to conquer more kingdom-level Lord factions. With his current Lord faction, it was not difficult for him to conquer more kingdom-level lord factions. Then, he took out the supreme treasure chest rewarded by the Lord announcement on the Cerulean planet. After opening the supreme treasure chest, he realized that there were 3 familiar crystals inside. Zhou's eyes widened. These 3 crystals were 3 Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystals. The supreme treasure chest is indeed worthy of its name. They really give me what I want. He looked at the 3 Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystals and could not help but smile. He now had a total of 5 Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystals. Apart from the 2 heroes who were going to be used to revive the Night Temple, he could keep the other 3 Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystals for himself. This way, if he and the people around him died in the future, he could use it to revive directly. Then, he put away the 3 Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystals and took out an orange crystal and a purple crystal. They were the extraordinary tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere and the epic tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere. The latter had dropped from King Taiyan. The former was obtained from the Scarlet Lord of one of the 48 regional territories in the Taiyan Kingdom. Zhou first purified the 2 of them before looking at their attributes. Treasure name, Lord Talent Sphere, King's Treasure Box, Treasure Grade, Extraordinary Tier, Treasure Effect. After absorbing it, the Lord will have an extraordinary tier Lord Talent, King Treasure Box. Treasure description, a Lord Talent Sphere purified by the Supreme Will. You can obtain a yellow gold tier Lord Talent after absorbing it. Treasure name, Lord Talent Sphere, Talent Intuition, Treasure Grade, Epic Tier, Treasure Effect. After absorbing it, the Lord will have an epic tier Lord Talent, Talent Intuition. Treasure description, a Lord Talent Sphere purified by the Supreme Will. After absorbing it, you can obtain an epic tier Lord Talent. King's Treasure Box. Innate Intuition. Zhou was delighted. Chapter 521 The King's Treasure Box. Talent Intuition. Zhou looked a little happy. These 2 Lord Talents seemed to be quite good. He immediately absorbed them without hesitation. This extraordinary tier Lord Talent Sphere immediately turned into countless orange spots of light and surged into his glabella. Zhou closed his eyes. A moment later, he reopened his eyes again after some time. Then, he saw a rectangular golden box appear in front of him. The box was carved with the beautiful golden patterns of dragons, phoenixes, and other auspicious beasts. It looked precious and mysterious. This is the King's Treasure Box. Zhou took it curiously. He looked over and a text notification appeared. Treasure name, King's Treasure Box, Soul Binder, Lord of the Blazing Sun, Treasure Grade, Special Tier, Treasure Effect 1, Half-Plane Space. The King's Treasure Box is the King's storage treasure, which contains a dead and silent half-plane space that can store massive amounts of material. Treasure Effect 2, Automated Collection. After the owner of the King's Treasure Box kills the enemy and retrieves the loots can be automatically stored in the space of the King's Treasure Box. No other life forms can spy on the treasure inside. Treasure Effect 3, Spirit Accumulation, a treasure stored in the King's Treasure Box. After a long period of nurturing in the treasure box, the damaged treasure will slowly be repaired. There is a chance that intact treasures will give birth to spirituality, thereby improving the quality of the treasure. This spirit accumulation effect is only effective on treasures below the legendary tier. Treasure description, a creation from the Lord Talent. It contains a half-plane space. It's a storage treasure that can only be chanced upon by luck. What a treasure! Zhou's eyes lit up when he saw the ability of the King's Treasure Box. Recently, he had been worried that he had too many spoils of war and his spatial ring could not hold them all. Originally, he was wondering if he should bring a storage ring with all 10 fingers to store his loots. This was timely. With this box, he no longer had to worry about not having enough storage space. It was an entire half-plane space that could even fit the territories of a few kingdoms. As for the spirit accumulation effect, it sounded good. However, he did not know what its specific effect was and how long it would take to nurture it. Zhou Zhou looked at the king's treasure box in his hand. With a thought, he saw it disappear into thin air and appear in the sea of consciousness between his brows. This was the effect of soul binding. Treasures that could directly bind souls could be directly stored in one's body. This was much safer than wearing it. As long as he didn't die, no one could steal a treasure from him. Then, he picked up another epic tier Lord Talent sphere and fused it. Then, he looked at its talent information expectantly. Lord Talent, Talent Intuition, Epic Tier, Talent Intuition. When you encounter an event that requires decisiveness, there is a chance to obtain an intuition that is like the help of the heavens, allowing you to make the right choice. Zhou Zhou frowned slightly. This Lord Talent was worthy of an Epic Tier Lord Talent. He pondered for a while, but his expression gradually became serious. What a talent, he muttered. Life. Life could be said to be formed by choices. At times, the right choice could allow a person to soar and save countless years of hard work. And a wrong choice could also cause a person to fall from heaven to hell. There was even no possibility of making a comeback and wasting his life. That was the importance of choices. And this Epic Tier Lord Talent, Talent Intuition, had a chance of making the right choice when faced with a choice. This meant that he did not have to take a detour. He might even obtain some great opportunities at some point. If I use this talent intuition well, the benefits it will bring me might not be inferior to the legendary tier Lord Talent, or even the mythical tier one and only Lord Talent. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Such a Lord Talent is a blockbuster the moment it appeared. When he thought of this, he could not help but smile. He never expected an epic tier Lord Talent to give him such a huge surprise. Still, this Lord Talent might not bring him much benefits in the short term. He had to be prepared for this. However, this was nothing. Zhou Zhou had nothing but Lord Talent. It wouldn't work for a short period of time. The other 21 Lord Talents could still take turns to exert strength. Then, he thought of the information he had seen about King Tian. No wonder King Tian's information introduced that the other party has an astonishing sense of smell and decisiveness. He has made many important decisions for the development of the Tian kingdom. So it has the extraordinary tier version of talent intuition. In addition, it later said that King Tian had brought a lot of losses to the Tian kingdom because he trusted his sense of smell too much. I'll bear that in mind, too. You can trust your talent intuition, but never blindly trust other intuitions. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then, he looked at his Lord Talent. A total of 26 Lord Talents made him smile. There are so many Lord Talents. If I were to take a screenshot and post it on the World Channel, the others would be scared to death. Zhou Zhou thought with a smile. Then, he took a deep breath. These Lord Talents were his foundation. However, they were not enough. If he wanted to surpass the lords of the myriad races who had the foundation of top-notch races and civilizations, he would need even more powerful Lord Talents. Then, he stopped thinking and took out the divine spark fragment of the God of Glimmer that he had found in Tian's treasure vault. A text notification appeared. Do you want to use it? Yes. Zhou Zhou immediately said, and then his consciousness went black. Zhou Zhou realized that he seemed to have become the God of Glimmer when the god was young. When the God of Glimmer was young, she lived in a place called the Darkness Continent. This was her hometown. On this continent, there was no sun, only endless darkness. And the Envoy of Light, who was born from the bonfire and the light, was the only living being race that followed the light on this mainland. The God of Glimmer, Solon, was such an Envoy of Light. Solon had always believed in the God of Light since she was born. All her life, she had used her light to explore the darkness, to destroy the dark monsters, to find a place for light to rest for those who could not live in the darkness. During this process, her strength also continuously increased until she grasped the power of the Glimmer Law and became a low-level god spirit, the God of Glimmer. Later on, she happened to pass through a teleportation array and arrived at the High Continent. She had originally thought that she would be able to find a higher path to advance as a god spirit on this even greater continent. However, she had an unfavorable start. She encountered an abyssal evil god in no time and was killed by it. The memories of the God of Glimmer's divine spark fragment stopped here. A text notification appeared. Please choose one of the following nomological skills belonging to the God of Glimmer. 1, 2, 3. Zhou looked at the 3 law skills. With the vague memories of the God of Glimmer, he immediately knew their nomological skills. 1. Law skill, Glimmer Protection, low-level deity advanced grade. 2. Law skill, Holy Light Sword, low-level deity advanced grade. 3. Law skill, Fire Light, low-level deity advanced grade. Chapter 522 Upgrading Territory. Extraordinary Tier Blazing Sun Territory. The first law skill, Glimmer Protection. It was somewhat similar to the law skill, Absolute Light that Zhou had mastered. They could use their light laws to protect others from the negative environments of the outside world in the scarlet fog or other dark environments. However, Absolute Light was a large-scale protection. Even though Glimmer Protection was not a large-scale protection, it could accurately protect everyone and prevent them from being attacked by the negative environment of the outside world for a long time. Furthermore, the Glimmer Protection could continue to work even if it was far away from the caster. As for Absolute Light, it could not be too far away from Zhou. It could be considered a very practical support law skill. The second law skill, Holy Light Sword, was a single-target law attack skill of the Law of Light. It also had additional law damage bonuses to enemies with darkness, negative, unholy, and other stats. The third law skill, Fire Light, was a group law attack skill of the Law of Light. Even though its power was weaker than the Light Hammer, its range of damage was extremely wide. Zhou pondered for a while and hesitated, not knowing which to choose. These 3 law skills would be very useful in the future. At this moment, he suddenly had an epiphany, and his gaze landed on the Holy Light Sword. It was as if the heavens were guiding him to choose this law skill and tell him that this law skill would be very useful in the future. Zhou immediately reacted. His talent intuition was triggered. He did not expect this Lord talent to be triggered so quickly. However, since it had been triggered, Zhou no longer hesitated and directly chose the Holy Light Sword, a law skill. Zhou seemed to see a golden holy sword that reached all the way to the sky in the distance. It flowed with light that was like the first rays of dawn, and it looked like it was enthralled. The holy sword flew over from afar and entered his forehead in the blink of an eye. Zhou was shocked. He subconsciously touched his forehead and took out a mirror. In the mirror, he found that there was a holy sword mark on his forehead. He subconsciously touched his forehead and took out a mirror. In the mirror, he found that there was a holy sword mark on his forehead. The mark from the holy sword disappeared when he thought to hide it. The holy sword mark appeared again when he thought for it to appear. Interesting. Is this the manifestation of the law skill, Holy Light Sword? Why do I feel that this Holy Light Sword can connect with my Absolute Light law skill? Zhou thought to himself. It seemed that he had to find an opportunity to try and see if he could really connect. Then, he looked at the ability information of this law skill. Law skill name, Holy Light Sword, law skill quality, low-level deity advanced grade, introduction to the law skill, manipulate the power of the Absolute Light law skill, condense a Holy Light Sword to kill the enemy. It has additional killing effects on creatures of chaotic camps that are evil, dark, scarlet, and negative. The description was simple. However, as a law skill, its effect was destined to not be as simple as it was described. He took a few more glances and stopped thinking about it. Instead, he walked out of the beginner-grade Lord's Paradise and looked at the building in front of him. He silently chanted to upgrade his territory. 800 million units of basic materials, 500 white platinum tier mist cores, 2,000 origin crystals, 30,000 units of basic elemental gems, 9,000 units of high-level elemental gems, and 2 white platinum tier territory tokens disappeared. Boom! A golden light immediately covered the entire beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. A moment later, the golden light dissipated. The obviously expanded Lord Manor appeared in front of Zhou. Congratulations, your beginner Lord's Paradise has successfully been upgraded to a white platinum tier advanced grade building. Your white platinum tier intermediate grade Essence Spirit Array has been successfully upgraded to white platinum tier advanced grade Essence Spirit Array. Your territory has been successfully upgraded to white platinum tier advanced grade territory. Territory stone endurance increased to 50 million/50 million. Your territory has expanded to 5,000 km x 5,000 km x 20,000 m. All fog monsters within the territory of the new territory have been expelled. Scarlet fog will not appear in any of your territories. You have received an upgrade reward, Basic Construction Blueprint Treasure Chest, White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade. Lord Talent Notification. The upper limit of the enemy Lord's power that you can use Insight Defection on has been increased to Legendary Tier. Lord Talent Hint, your monster ranches can be upgraded. Lord Talent Hint, your mysterious caravan faction has increased. Lord Talent Hint, the strength of the clergy in your Goddess of Lives shelter has increased. Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he looked at the requirements for the next level. Construction upgrade. 500 million units of wood, 500 million units of fine sand, 500 million units of metal, 500 million units of stone, 1,000 white platinum tier mist cores, 5,000 origin crystals, 100,000 units of basic elemental gems, 10,000 units of thunder elemental gems, 10,000 units of life elemental gems, 10,000 units of death elemental gems, 3 white platinum tier cities, 50 white platinum tier lifestyle professionals, 500 white platinum tier military professionals, 3 white platinum tier territory tokens. It's still the problem of high-level elemental gems. Zhou looked at the upgrade requirement and frowned slightly. There were a total of 20,000 life elemental gems and death elemental gems. Even if he had just obtained all the high-level elemental gems in the Taiyan Kingdom, he still could not satisfy the needs of the territory to level up. Looks like I have to hurry up and go to Titan Kingdom to take a look. Zhou muttered to himself. He still remembered that Li Yuangan said that among the nearby kingdoms, the Titan Kingdom had the most high-level elemental gem minerals. If he wanted to obtain more high-level elemental gem resources and continue to upgrade his territory, dealing with the Titan Kingdom was a must. Then, he came to the Gate of Summoning and spent 2,000 units of basic resources and 500 white platinum tier mist cores to upgrade it. Congratulations, your Gate of Summoning has been successfully upgraded to a white platinum tier advanced grade building. You can summon plus 70 subjects every day. You will summon 80 professionals from the subjects every day. Prompt, under the influence of the unique title of the race, Glory of the Pioneer 4, you can summon 1,715 subjects every day. You will summon 90 professionals from the subjects every day. Moreover, 5 of the professionals will have the same level as your territory. Zhou looked at its next level up requirement. Construction upgrade, 10 million units of wood, 10 million units of fine sand, 10 million units of metal, 10 million units of stone, 10 million white platinum tier mist core to upgrade the territory level to extraordinary tier elementary grade. This request is the same as giving it for free. Zhou lamented. He was not too surprised. It's time to build a kingdom. Zhou came back to his senses and took a deep breath. Then, he took out an extraordinary tier territory fusion certificate. He had also found this extraordinary tier territory fusion certificate in Taiyan's treasure vault. Originally, he had wanted to use the gradeless territory fusion certificate to fuse Blazing Sun City and the Taiyan Kingdom's capital. Now that he had this extraordinary tier territory fusion certificate, he naturally did not need the gradeless one. A text notification appeared. Do you want to use the territory fusion certificate, extraordinary tier? Yes. He replied. An illusory map appeared in front of him. It was a map of all the regions and territories that the Blazing Sun territory currently controlled. Zhou looked at the map. On this illusory map, there were still 12 regional territories separating Blazing Sun City from the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom. When Zhou saw this, he first used the low-level territorial fusion proof to fuse all the regional territories between the two. Zhou had already obtained a lot of these low-level territory fusion certificates from Liya. In addition, he had obtained nearly 500 territory fusion certificates from the Taiyan Kingdom's treasure vault today, so he naturally was not lacking in this aspect. After fusing the separated territories, Blazing Sun City's territory level had already increased from white platinum tier to diamond tier. When Zhou saw this, he began to fuse Blazing Sun City and the Taiyan Kingdom's capital. Soon, he saw that on the illusory map, the boundary between the territory of the Blazing Sun territory and the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom gradually became blurry before finally disappearing. Then, rows of new text notifications appeared. You have chosen the capital of the Taiyan Kingdom, extraordinary tier regional territory, as the target of your initial territory fusion. Fusion in progress. Fusion successful. Congratulations, your initial territory, Blazing Sun Desert, Diamond Tier Regional Territory, has successfully fused with the Taiyan Kingdom's Imperial City, Extraordinary Tier Regional Territory. Your Blazing Sun Desert, Diamond Tier, Regional Territory has been significantly upgraded to an Extraordinary Tier Regional Territory. The range of your Blazing Sun Desert, Extraordinary Tier, Territory has increased significantly. Your Blazing Sun Desert, Extraordinary Tier, Territory has perfectly inherited all the resources of the original territory and the fusion territory. Please continue to fuse regional territories and increase the level of your regional territories. When Zhou saw this, a smile appeared on his face. I've fulfilled the 3 conditions for establishing a kingdom. It's time to establish my kingdom. Chapter 523 Establishing a Kingdom. Zhou took out the kingdom token. A text notification appeared. Do you want to use the kingdom token? Yes. Zhou said excitedly. The kingdom token instantly emitted an incomparably intense golden light. This golden light was so intense that it even penetrated his beginner-grade Lord's paradise and shone in all directions, allowing the living beings within a radius of thousands of kilometers or even close to 10,000 kilometers to see it. Some life forms looked at this scene in surprise and guessed what had happened. Some of the older elders were very emotional when they saw this scene. Which lord is establishing a kingdom? The path of a kingdom is uncertain, especially in a place like the High Continent. I wonder how long this king can last for his kingdom. Decades? Hundreds of years? If he can last for 1,000 years, he'll be considered successful. The early stages of building a new kingdom are not so easy to pass. In a towering palace that was 1,000 meters tall in the Titan Kingdom, the current Titan King, Fens, was sitting on a desolate blood-red throne, staring coldly at the golden light in the distance. Is that the light of the kingdom token? Who has established a kingdom? Its expression was cold and irritable. The territory of the kingdoms around them was only so big. Originally, it was divided between Titan, Taiyan, Netherbark, and Aurora Kingdom. Now that there was suddenly an additional kingdom, it meant that they could originally get a quarter of the territory. Now, they could only get a fifth or even less. The cake was only so big. Naturally, it wanted as few competitors as possible. My king, the direction of that light is in the direction of the human lord's territory. I think it's probably the human lord who destroyed our giant war army and killed the Iron Fang king, Siphon, to establish the kingdom. A loud priest wearing a colorful priest robe walked out and said worriedly. Upon hearing this, the Titan king, Fen's expression became even gloomier. The Titan kingdom only had 5 heroes to begin with. Its national strength had greatly decreased because of that human lord who killed one of the heroes. Furthermore, it had yet to obtain the benefits of the Tian kingdom. It could be said that it hated that human lord to the core, but at the same time, it seemed to have thought of something, and a look of unwillingness flashed across its eyes. The Lord of the Blazing Sun, according to the report, this guy can command nearly 10 million troops, and each soldier is very strong. Even if the entire Titan kingdom is full of soldiers, our total military strength is only 5 million. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult even if we can fight them, the Titan king muttered to itself. The priest below the hall looked at its majesty's expression. It could roughly guess even though it could not hear its king clearly. It took the initiative to say, Your Majesty, I don't know where that human lord found tens of millions of troops. With such troops, he will definitely target our Titan kingdom's high-level elemental gem mine in order to quickly level up his territory. Even though the war between us and the other party has yet to begin, the future will definitely appear. We have to be prepared. The priest said solemnly. What does the priest have in mind? Just say it. The Titan king, Fens, glanced at it and said indifferently. Your Majesty. We were threatened by that human lord. Isn't the Nether Bark Kingdom, which is adjacent to that human lord, the same? I suggest that we join forces with the Nether Bark Kingdom and find a few allies to deal with that human lord together. The priest said respectfully. If it was in the past, the proud Titan king, Fens, would definitely not care about joining forces with other countries. But at this moment, Fens didn't say anything as it thought about the intelligence on the Lord of the Blazing Sun's military strength. It just pondered silently. Nether Bark Kingdom. In the Pope's palace. At this moment, the Pope's palace had just finished the god-bestowing ceremony and completed the replacement of the new and old Pope. However, what the citizens of the underworld Bark Kingdom did not know was that just as the handover of their beloved new Pope ended, another simple and low-key funeral was held in the worship hall of the Gobi. In the worship hall, the new Pope, Floyd, and the old Pope, Cronin, were looking at the transparent crystal coffin surrounded by flowers in silence. There were no corpses in the transparent crystal coffin, only some simple clothes and relics. My master's death spirit servant actually died just like that. And on a day like today. Floyd had a head of resplendent, slightly curly blonde hair. His entire body emitted a faint golden luster, and he looked like a creature from Greek mythology. He looked at the death spirit servant, Sakamo's crystal coffin, and sighed. He did not look too regretful. He and the old Pope Cronin were from 2 different factions in the Pope's palace. There had always been many conflicts between them. The undead servant Sakamoto belonged to the old Pope's faction. He was dead. Even though it was not a good thing for the entire Nether Bark Kingdom, that might not be the case to him. The old Pope Cronin glanced at Floyd and saw through his thoughts. I've already retired. Sakamoto would have become your power sooner or later. Don't you feel sorry that he's dead? Aren't you afraid that you won't have enough experts when the human lord comes knocking on your door? Chapter 524 Establishing a Kingdom, 2, Cronin asked in a deep voice. There were only him and Floyd here now, so he didn't care about some things and said them directly. Don't I feel sorry? Floyd was disdainful in his heart, but he pretended to be shocked. Then, he said arrogantly, our Nether Bark Kingdom is supported by the divine power of death. If that human lord dares to attack, well, let him have a taste of being cursed by the divine power of death. When the time comes, he might not even dare to take half a step into our country. If he really dares to come over, don't blame me for taking the race divine artifact in his hand. The news that the Lord of the Blazing Sun had a divine artifact of the race had already been spread through the entire channel by the Lord of the myriad races, and many life forms knew about it. The Nether Bark Kingdom was naturally one of them. The news that the Lord of the Blazing Sun had a divine artifact of the race had already been spread through the entire channel by the Lord of the myriad races, and many life forms knew about it. If he could snatch this race divine artifact and offer it to the God of Death, perhaps he could take another step forward and become the Elven of Death by the God of Death's side. When the time comes, the position of Pope that he had fought so hard for would be like child's play. On the other side, Pope Cronin did not refute Floyd's words. Take care of yourself. I hope that the Nether Bark Kingdom can develop better in your hands. Cronin looked at Sakamo's clothes and belongings in the coffin and turned to walk towards the door. From the back, he seemed to have aged a lot. Floyd narrowed his eyes as he watched Cronin leave. What bad idea was this old thing thinking of to deal with me? After fighting with the old Pope for so many years, he would not easily judge his true thoughts just because of his outward behavior. At this moment, the two of them suddenly sensed something and looked in the direction of Blazing Sun City. Someone's founded a kingdom. It should be that human lord. TSK, I don't need to think so much. I'm just an old man who has lost his position as Pope. Cronin left without looking back. The new Pope, Floyd, frowned. Originally, he was in a good mood because he had become the new Pope, but now, because of the new human kingdom, his mood had become much worse. Lord of the Blazing Sun. Race divine artifact. Floyd's deep voice came from the temple. In the Blazing Sun City. Zhou naturally did not know that so many other life forms had so many other thoughts just as he was about to establish a kingdom. He was looking at the text notification that appeared in front of him. Kingdom notification, Lord of the Blazing Sun, you have used the kingdom token. Do you want to officially upgrade your territory to a kingdom-level lord's territory? Yes. Zhou immediately said. Do you wish to use the Blazing Sun territory, extraordinary tier regional territory, as your royal capital region? Yes. Please set your kingdom name, the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou was already prepared for this and immediately replied. Your world channel ID has changed. Your current world channel ID is, Blazing Sun Kingdom, Lord of the Blazing Sun. You have successfully established your own kingdom. The announcement that Zhou had been waiting for finally appeared. Lord of all races Lord announcement, congratulations to the human race, Lord of the Blazing Sun for successfully establishing the first kingdom, rewards, mythical tier treasure chest +1, novice kingdom treasure chest +1. Reputation rating +10. Mythical reputation rating +1. Lord of all races announcement, congratulations to the human race, Lord of the Blazing Sun, Lord of all races announcement, congratulations to the human race, Lord of the Blazing Sun. A smile appeared on Zhou's face. His heart was filled with joy. Finally. The kingdom that I have been longing for is finally established. At this moment, the text notification appeared again. Novice King Hint 1, your kingdom has just been established. Your reputation will gradually spread in the nearby area. The living beings in the area will gradually know of your kingdom's existence. Please be prepared to deal with the subsequent kingdom affairs. Novice King Hint 2, you have the authority to establish a kingdom channel. This kingdom channel can accommodate up to 100 million subjects. Novice King Hint 3, you have the authority to publish the kingdom announcement. After publishing the kingdom announcement, all subjects in the kingdom channel will be informed of the news you released immediately. Novice King Hint 4, the kingdom channel is only owned by the lords of the myriad races. The local lords cannot own the kingdom channel. Kingdom channel. Kingdom announcement. Only the lord of all races have it. Other local lords can't have it. Zhou's eyes lit up. So this is the rights of a kingdom. Indeed, it is too different from being an ordinary lord of all races. He looked at the bottom left corner of his field of vision. As expected, he found a new icon in the middle of the world channel and the marketplace. This icon had a simple, king character, and behind it was a golden flag. It was the icon of the kingdom channel. Zhou opened it. He realized that this kingdom channel was very similar to the world channel of the Lord of Cerulean Planet. There were 3 functions: personal information, kingdom channel, and friend list. However, it lacked the most important function of the marketplace. Zhou felt that it was a pity. During his growth, the marketplace had definitely played a role that was not inferior to the legendary tier Lord talent. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the kingdom channel. Otherwise, his subjects would be much more comfortable. In addition to these functions, Zhou also discovered a kingdom channel function that belonged solely to him. King function. Zhou opened it. He discovered that this king function had a series of functions such as silence, chat administrator, setting, publishing the kingdom announcement, searching for subject information. It looked quite complete. Zhou clicked on one of the subject joining functions and saw a full page of subject names appear in front of him. There were 100 people on each page. Zhou looked at the bottom page and realized that there were more than 110,000 pages. In other words, there were more than 11 million people. There were about 4 million subjects under him. These 11 million people should include the lords and subjects under his command. Zhou chose all the subjects and pulled them in. Right on the heels of that, Zhou saw the number of subjects in the kingdom channel jump from 0 to 54,612. The next second, it directly rose to 227,786. In the next moment, more than 10 million people joined his kingdom channel. The others who hadn't joined yet probably hadn't realized what was going on, so they didn't dare to join rashly. Thinking of this, he opened the kingdom announcement. After thinking for a while, he began to fill in the contents of the announcement. He finished writing it in no time and chose to publish it. All the subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, including the lords of the Star Alliance and their subordinates, suddenly saw rows of text notifications. Blazing Sun Kingdom announcement, subjects, I have good news for everyone. From today onwards, our Blazing Sun territory has officially advanced from an ordinary lord's territory to a kingdom-level lord's territory. We are the first lord faction among the lord of all races to advance to the territory of a kingdom-level lord. This means that we are at the forefront of the Lord of all races. This is the glory that belongs to all the subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. In addition, you should have seen the Kingdom Channel's invitation that just appeared. Everyone, don't be afraid. I posted this. You can just enter normally. In the future, you can communicate normally on this channel and can even exchange information. In order to celebrate the founding of the kingdom, all the items in the territory contribution system would be exchanged at a 50% discount for a month from today onwards. In a month, the price will return to normal. I hope that all subjects will seize the opportunity to increase their strength and better survive on the high continent. The Blazing Sun Territory. All the subjects who saw this kingdom announcement were stunned at first before erupting with joy. As subjects of the Blazing Sun Territory, they knew very well how many good things there were in their exchange system, especially the military merit exchange system. Now, their lord, no, His Majesty the King was actually willing to sell it at a 50% discount. It was as if they could already see their strength and family background rapidly increasing in the future. Chapter 525 Hero Slot Advancement Book. After Zhou released the kingdom announcement, he immediately looked at the kingdom channel. At this moment, the kingdom channel was already bustling with activity. Many subjects who had just arrived were cheering for the official advancement of the Blazing Sun territory to a kingdom faction. At the same time, they were also amazed by the wonders of the kingdom channel. Of course, the latter's subjects did not include Linger, the Green Phoenix Lord, and the other lords of the myriad races in their subordinate territory. They had already experienced the world channel of the Lord of Cerulean Planet, so their reaction to the familiar functions of the Kingdom Channel was naturally mediocre. But even so, they were a little surprised that the lords of all races could actually obtain the authority to establish a Kingdom Channel after establishing a kingdom. Because of this, the Lord of the Blazing Sun's status in their hearts skyrocketed once again. At this moment, many lords of the Star Alliance had already gone to the World Channel to show off. Zhou Zhou smiled at this. He was not in a hurry to see the reactions of the lords of Cerulean Planet on the World Channel. Instead, he looked at the current number of subjects on the Kingdom Channel. The number of subjects in the Kingdom Channel had already reached 11,251,563. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. This number meant that almost all his subjects had entered his Kingdom Channel. The Kingdom Channel has a maximum number of 100 million subjects. I shouldn't have to worry about exceeding the limit for the time being. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. In addition, even if he surpassed them in the future, he did not think it would matter. There was a limit of 100 million subjects in a beginner kingdom. After reaching the intermediate kingdom or even higher, the upper limit of the number of subjects in this Kingdom Channel should increase. He stopped thinking and opened the World Channel of the Lord of Cerulean Planet. It was not beyond his expectations. At this moment, the entire World Channel was discussing the matter of him establishing a kingdom. Awesome! The first kingdom of the Cerulean Planet Lords. It's also the first kingdom of the entire Lord of all races. Big Boss Blazing Sun is fucking awesome. Shouts at the top of my lungs, he has earned a lot of face. Dragon Lady Lord, all Lord members of the Dragon Blood Alliance congratulate your Majesty on establishing the number 1 kingdom of the Cerulean Planet. Overlord Lord, all Lord members of the Overlord Association congratulations your Majesty on establishing the number 1 kingdom of the Cerulean Planet. The number 1 kingdom of all races. Undead Lord, the Undead Alliance congratulates your Majesty for establishing the number 1 kingdom on the Cerulean Planet. The number 1 kingdom of all races. Wow, so many big bosses appeared in the same frame together. We're really witnessing history today. You're still lamenting about witnessing history, but the smart me has already taken a screenshot. You're still taking screenshots. The smart me has already started recording. You're still recording. The far-sighted me has long joined the Star Alliance. Damn it, I'm willing to call that a killer move. Boo-hoo, I want to join the Star Alliance too, but the event is over. I can't even exchange for the Master Servant territory contract now. In short, it's good to cozy up to Big Boss Blazing Sun. What big shot? Can't you see how those big shots address him? Call him your Majesty. Long live your Majesty. Long live your Majesty. Big Boss Blazing Sun has already become a king. Is it time to consider the harem? Cough cough, I have a little sister who's beautiful. Your Majesty, do you want to take a look? In this day and age, there are people fighting to be a bootlicker. It's too difficult. If you can't be a bootlicker, you can lick the hook for His Majesty. Hook. Which hook? Blazing Sun Kingdom, Lord of the Blazing Sun, strongest Lord of all races, His Majesty has appeared. Capture His Majesty quickly. Hold on to the person above. Hold on tight. The main character has appeared. I hope that in the upcoming war in the territory, I will kill gods and Buddhas. Zhou Zhou turned off the World Channel speechlessly. Every time something big happened, there would always be a few people among the lords of the Cerulean Planet that made him speechless. In addition, he could tell something. Fewer lords who dared to openly mock him on the World Channel as his strength and his achievement increased. They were almost extinct. This was the benefit of strength. When there was not much difference in strength between him and the other party still dared to openly mock him and conspire against him using the World Channel. When the disparity in strength was large enough for the other party to look up to, all kinds of jealousy, resentment, and anger would disappear or be hidden in the deepest depths. Zhou Zhou did not let down his guard even though he was very happy to see this situation. Their lords were competitors after all. In the future, when he encountered other lords of Cerulean Planet during the expansion of his territory, they would definitely fight them if they did not want to surrender. Furthermore, he would not stop himself from becoming stronger just because the other party was a lord of the same race. Therefore, he would start a war with the other party. This was something that was bound to happen between lords of all races. They were enemies after all. However, unlike the people of foreign races, they were of the same race. I hope that all the lords of Cerulean Planet I meet in the future will surrender to me. Otherwise, they'll have to fight them. Even though Zhou Zhou was cautious, he also felt that it would be very difficult to find a lord who could fight him among the lords of Cerulean Planet. This was evident from the battlefield of the Lord of all races. Other than him, only a few lords on the Cerulean Planet had reached the epic tier. However, he was the only one who could surpass the legendary tier and mythical tier and reach the top of the myriad races. He did not think too much about it and looked at the rewards for the Lord of all races. First was the 10 reputation rating and 1 mythical reputation rating. This meant that tomorrow, he would have another 10 talents attracted by his reputation rating and 1 mythical tier talent join his territory. He then looked at the 2 treasure chests. First was the mythical tier treasure chest. Zhou Zhou opened it and saw a piece of paper emitting a faint golden light. He picked it up and looked at it. A text notification appeared. Treasure name, Hero Slot Advancement Book, Treasure Grade, True God Tier, Treasure Effect. After using it, any hero of any race can immediately upgrade their hero slot to the True God Tier Hero Fate level. Treasure description, a precious treasure that can greatly increase the fate level of low-level heroes. The highest level can be upgraded to the True God Tier Hero's fate level. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. What a good treasure. But who should he give this hero slot advancement book to? Zhou Zhou now had a total of 9 heroes under his command, including Mechanical Father, Zhou Zhou. They had contributed to the territory, and there was not much of a difference between their contributions to heroes. However, there was only 1 hero slot advancement book. It was really difficult to decide if he wanted to give it to a suitable hero. He thought for a while, then suddenly smiled. With a thought, Mechanical Father, Zhou Zhou was summoned. There you go. Use it well. Don't let both me and you down. Zhou Zhou directly threw the hero slot advancement book to him. Mechanical Father, Zhou Zhou nodded calmly and left to find a room to use. Zhou Zhou watched this scene calmly. Chapter 526 Newbie Kingdom Treasure Chest. Sword of Xian Yuan, Sun Moon Star Sword. There were 2 reasons why he handed this hero slot advancement book to his Machina race clone. First, enhance his own strength so that his life preservation ability would be stronger in the battle between lords of the myriad races. No matter when or where, survival was always his top priority. Only with life would there be a future. And powerful strength was always the first way to save one's life. Second, Zhou Zhou was confident that after his strength increased exponentially, he would repay his subordinates in the future so that his subordinate strength and hero slots would also increase exponentially. This was his confidence in his future. That was why he had given this hero slot advancement book to his Machina race clone. While Mechanical Father, Zhou Zhou was leveling up, Zhou Zhou looked at another Novice Kingdom treasure chest. This treasure chest was black and gold in color and looked extremely noble. After he opened it, he found a sword inside. Zhou Zhou widened his eyes and could not help but take a deep breath. It was actually the second incomplete sword of Xian Yuan. Its sword was engraved with the sun, moon, and stars. Faint starlight spread out, as if stars were circulating. It was very mysterious. Sun Moon Star Sword. Zhou Zhou whispered. Information about the divine artifact appeared. Race Divine Artifact Name, Incomplete Sword of Xian Yuan, Equipment Grade, Unique in the Race, Race Divine Artifact Ability 1, Sun Moon Star Sword. All humans on Cerulean Planet will be illuminated by the light of the sun, moon, and stars, increasing their potential by a small level. Lords with swords and their subjects will be loved by the sun, moon, and stars, and their potential will increase by a large level. Race Divine Artifact Ability 2, Mountain River Plants and Tree Sword, Unknown. You need to collect and fuse the mountain, river, plant and tree faces of the Sword of Xian Yuan to activate this Race Divine Artifact ability. Race Divine Artifact Ability 4, Heaven and Earth Unification Sword, Unknown. To activate this race's Divine Artifact ability, you need to collect and fuse the hilt of the Sword of Xian Yuan's Heaven and Earth Unification. Introduction to the Race Divine Artifact, Sword of Xian Yuan, also known as the Xian Yuan Xia Yu Sword. One side of the sword is engraved with the sun, moon, and stars, while the other side is carved with mountains, rivers, plants, and trees. The hilt is filled with the art of agriculture husbandry sword, and the other side contains the strategy of unifying the world. It contains endless power. It does not only kill demons, it is also one of the important reliances of the Cerulean Planet Lord in fighting for the position of Lord of all races on the High Continent. When Zhou Zhou saw the effect of the Sun Moon Star Sword, he immediately gasped. This Sun Moon Star Sword could actually increase the potential of the human race on the Cerulean Planet. Furthermore, the other humans on the Cerulean Planet would only advance by a small level. However, he and the subjects under him could advance by a large level. Green Bronze Tier potential directly became White Silver Tier potential. His Extraordinary Tier potential directly turned into Epic Tier potential. Zhou Zhou immediately called Bai Yun and the others overthrew the army panel. While they were rushing over, Zhou Zhou also opened the world channel. Then, he saw countless identical comments. Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Millions of comments appeared every second on the world channel, and these comments were all, Long live His Majesty, without exception. Zhou Zhou laughed. It seemed that they had also seen the attributes of the Race Divine Artifact. He looked at the Kingdom Channel. He realized that the situation on the Kingdom Channel was similar. The only difference was that even though the subjects in the Kingdom Channel were not as many as the lords in the Cerulean Planet lords in the World Channel, they shouted the craziest and most loyal. They were subjects under his command after all. Their potentials had increased by a large level. This was equivalent to the grace of being reborn. Who wouldn't go crazy? Originally, I was a little worried that because of the blessing of the war god, the subject's strength would increase too quickly, causing their potential to be unable to keep up. It's fine now. With the potential of this Sword of Xian Yuan, Sun Moon Star Sword, coupled with the Dragon Slayer's talent, Song and Bloodbath, it can increase the strength of the subjects and not be limited by their potential. Next, the strength of my subjects will increase. It should welcome an explosive period. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. Even though the Dragon Slayer talent, Song and Bloodbath, was very effective, it could only be improved by killing high-level bloodline life forms and bathing in their blood. There were many restrictions. The final battlefield was gone after all. The enemies they would encounter in the future might not be high-level bloodline life forms. It was not even certain if it was a life form or if it had blood. For example, the Machina race and the Elemental race. Killing life forms of such races would not trigger Song and Bloodbath to increase the strength of his Dragon Slayer. Therefore, in comparison, it was safer to directly increase his potential. At this moment, his friend list was filled with all kinds of messages. Zhou Zhou casually opened Linger's message. Spiritual Medicine Lord, Big Brother, I just saw the news about the race's divine artifact. Big Brother, you're amazing. You obtained another portion of the sword of Xian Yuan. Lord of the Blazing Sun, in keeping a low profile. By the way, how did it display on your end? Linger didn't reply but sent a screenshot instead. Zhou looked at it. Sword of Xian Yuan, Sun Moon Star Sword. All human lords on Cerulean planet are illuminated by the light of the sun, moon, and stars. Their potential has increased by a small level. Zhou nodded slightly. The light of the sun, moon, and stars. He pondered for a while, then walked out of his room and looked up at the stars in the sky. He could vaguely feel it. The stars that filled the sky were faintly emitting starlight that shone on his body. Then, it turned into wisps of cool energy that nourished his body. I wonder how much potential I have now. Zhou muttered to himself. There was no potential in the Lord information interface of the lords of all races. Only when the lords of all races lost their status as lords would their specific potential be revealed. Then, he carefully felt his body. After a while, he frowned slightly. Logically speaking, it's already a huge increase in my potential to increase by a major level. Why don't I feel any change in my own potential? Don't tell me, my potential already at the Master God tier advanced grade? Zhou frowned and muttered to himself. Master God tier advanced grade. It was the limit of the potential of all the life forms of the various races. Anything above it would already involve the domain of the Supreme God realm. That was no longer something that could be determined by one's potential. He took out another sword of Xian Yuan, the agriculture husbandry sword, as he thought about this question. At this moment, he held the sword of Xian Yuan in his left hand, the agriculture husbandry sword, and the Sun Moon Star sword in his right hand. The two broken swords seemed to have sensed each other, and their surfaces emitted a faint white fluorescent light. A text notification appeared. Do you want to fuse? Sure enough, it can be fused. Fuse. Zhou immediately said. The two swords shone brightly. Then a luxurious golden sword appeared in his hand. Its blade was divided into 4 sides. At this moment, there were already 2 sword faces carved with the contents of the sun, moon, and stars, as well as farming. As for the other 2 sides of the sword, they were empty. Zhou looked at the attributes of the sword of Xian Yuan and realized that there were no changes. It was just a simple fusion of functions. He was slightly disappointed. He thought that it would produce some additional stats. Perhaps after I gather the complete sword of Xian Yuan, its species divine artifact stats will change. Zhou had some guesses. Chapter 527 Nazario, am also a dragon slayer. Zhou looked at the sword of Xian Yuan in his hand. Even though the fusion of the 2 swords did not produce any new divine artifact stats, Zhou was very satisfied with the effect of the Sun Moon Star sword. At this moment, Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Feng Luo, Luo Sheng, and the others walked over. Nazario, Auguste, Horace, and the other dragons also flew over. Greetings, my lord. Everyone and the dragons said respectfully. Can you feel the changes in your body? Zhou nodded and smiled. I can feel it. My potential has increased by a large level and I've directly reached the legendary tier advanced grade. Feng Luo couldn't hide the excitement in his eyes. As a hero with an epic tier hero fate level slot, his potential was only at the epic tier advanced grade. After the upgrade of the Sun Moon Star sword, he had directly jumped to the legendary tier advanced grade. This potential was already comparable to the potential of a legendary tier hero in the fate level. My potential has increased to a low-level deity advanced grade. Bai Yun smiled. During this period of time, her hero fate level had officially transformed from the legendary tier hero fate level, fake, to the real legendary tier hero fate level through killing enemy country heroes with her companions. At the same time, her potential also increased to legendary tier advanced grade. And now, her potential had already broken through the limitations of normal life forms and had the potential to become a god. She would also be a true god spirit even if it was only the divine potential of a low-level deity advanced grade. It was no longer the same as life forms below the legendary tier. Zhou Zhou looked at the others. When the others saw this, they also stood up and reported the improvement of their potential. Among them, the potential of the Dragon Horse Spear General, Wuxia, had increased from an epic tier advanced grade to a legendary tier advanced grade. Soul Arrow Wu Tu's potential rose from epic tier advanced grade to legendary tier advanced grade. The advancement of the ghost god General Luo Sheng was more terrifying. He was originally a genius with the potential of an high-level deity elementary grade. This time, after the upgrade of the Sun Moon Star Sword, he had directly jumped from to true god tier elementary grade. The Night Rakshasa Sword Godsu An's potential increase was the most terrifying. This was because he had the potential to become true god tier advanced grade. However, he had now directly advanced from a true god tier advanced grade to a master god tier advanced grade. His potential had shockingly reached the limit of the world. Butcher Wuxiao's potential was more ridiculous. As a dragon slayer, his potential was only at the green bronze tier intermediate grade. Now, even with the improvement of the Sun Moon Star Sword, his potential was only at the white silver tier intermediate grade. Even so, Wuxiao still looked relieved. Fortunately, my potential didn't increase greatly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a pure dragon slayer. With that he looked at everyone except Zhou Zhou with a strange expression. Everyone was speechless. You don't have to look at people like that. We're all humans. Our bloodlines aren't noble. Zhou Zhou coughed lightly and said. That's true. Guiqiao retracted his gaze and could not help but glance at Nazario and the others. Nazario and the other dragons subconsciously trembled. Then, they suddenly reacted. What was there to be afraid of? They might be dragons, but they were also dragon slayers. At the thought of this, they stared at Guiqiao until he looked uncomfortable before looking away. Zhou Zhou smiled when he saw this. Instead, they stared at Guiqiao until he looked uncomfortable before looking away. Zhou Zhou sighed. Back then, Nazario was the #1 combatant and the #1 potential subordinate in his territory. And now, it was actually starting to lose its ranking. He smiled. This also meant that his territory was developing rapidly. However, Nazario had contributed greatly to the development of his territory. If he could find treasures to increase its potential in the future, he had to help Nazario do just that. Zhou Zhou hoped to see the final scenery of the Lord's Path with his old subordinates as long as they did not betray him. Your Majesty, this is the list of the increase in the strength of the soldiers after passing the Triumph Gate. Among these soldiers, there are also the Lords of the Star Alliance today. Let's turn around 20% of the troops. At this moment, Bai Yun walked over with a list and handed it to Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou took it and read it. Today, the Lords of the Star Alliance had used insight defection on a total of 1,035,900 monsters. The 20% of the troops that were transferred to Zhou Zhou had 207,180 fog monsters. In addition to the 158,575 Titan soldiers he had insight defection on his own. After the Triumphal Arches upgrade, most of these soldiers had improved in strength. Among the soldiers under his command, there were 327,131 Black Iron Tier soldiers. There were 241,529 Green Bronze Tier soldiers. There were 719,600 White Silver Tier soldiers. There were 541,712 Yellow Gold Tier soldiers. There were 459,612 White Platinum Tier soldiers. Diamond Tier 287,152 soldiers. 15 Extraordinary Tier soldiers. Guiqiao was promoted to Epic Tier Advanced Grade. Feng Luo had been promoted to Extraordinary Tier Advanced Grade. Bai Yun had advanced to the extraordinary tier intermediate grade. Luo Sheng had advanced to the extraordinary tier intermediate grade. Wu Tu was upgraded to diamond tier intermediate grade. Nazario was upgraded to diamond tier intermediate grade. The original spirit race Ansel had broken through to white platinum tier intermediate grade. The strength of the other generals did not change for the time being. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Now, his troops, together with the Star Alliance's total troops, had officially broken through 10 million, reaching more than 22 million troops. Not bad, not bad. Such a military force was already considered to be completely overwhelming in the beginner kingdoms that he knew of. If that's the case, well, attack the Titan Kingdom or the Nether Bark Kingdom tomorrow. A cold glint flashed across Zhou Zhou's eyes. Zhou Zhou did not have a good impression of these two foreign races who dared to snatch food from his mouth. It just so happened that his kingdom was newly built. He would use these two beginner kingdoms to pave a fierce reputation for his new kingdom. This would prevent some ignorant kingdoms from thinking that his kingdom was a soft persimmon just because it had just been established. How's your discussion going? Zhou Zhou retracted his thoughts and looked at Bai Yun and the rest. Vice City Lord Zheng and the others are still discussing. Before we left, they were discussing the founding celebration, the kingdom's laws, and the official title of the kingdom's officials. They should still be discussing it now. Bai Yun reported respectfully. My lord, you are now the ruler of a new kingdom after all. There are some important kingdom decisions that require your personal approval. Otherwise, they might discuss it for a long time and it won't come to a conclusion. Moreover, there are some national matters that they don't dare to discuss without you around. Wu Xian said. He had been an official in the court for many years, so he naturally knew that the upper echelons of the territory needed Zhou Zhou to be present. You guys go back and continue the discussion. I have something on now. I'll go to your place later. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and said. Yes, my lord. No one had any objections. Chapter 528 Resurrecting Heroes. 3 Hero Corpses. A moment later, in the meeting room of the beginner grade Lord's Paradise. Zhou Zhou looked at the 3 people in front of him. They were Mu Gu, Zheng Fugue, and Carol Momoira. Same rules. Tell me about your improvements. Zhou Zhou said. Mu Gu was the first to stand up out of habit. He respectfully said, reporting to your majesty, after the territory was promoted to white platinum tier advanced grade, my strength also increased to white platinum tier advanced grade. My various skills also increased to white platinum tier advanced grade. Moreover, the number of monster ranches that I can manage had already reached 36. The maximum capacity of each monster ranch has also increased from 15,000 to 20,000. The upper limit of the monsters that can be nurtured has also increased to the level of white platinum tier advanced grade. Zhou Zhou nodded. The 2 new monster ranches will be used to nurture the violent storm demon spirit. Zhou Zhou said. Yes, your majesty. Mu Gu said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded and looked at Zheng Fugue. Zheng Fugue stood up with a chuckle. Your majesty. The number of mysterious vendors in the mysterious caravan has increased from 1,000 to 1,500. All the mysterious merchants' abilities have been upgraded to white platinum tier advanced grade. Our number of carriages has also increased to 1,500. In addition, the mysterious business ring that each of us was given by the Supreme Will has also increased from 30,000 cubic meters to 80,000 cubic meters. We can transport more goods now. This is the improvement of our mysterious caravan. This is for you. See if we can sell it for a good price. It's best if we can exchange it for some treasures. After some thought, Zhou Zhou took out the 3 emperor's gems and threw them to Zheng Fugue. Zheng Fugue took it subconsciously. When he saw the 3 emperors' gems in his hands, his eyes lit up and he kept them solemnly. I will definitely bring back satisfactory goods for your majesty. Zheng Fugui said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded. Actually, he did not have much hope. How much could it be worth no matter how high the grade of a gem without any attributes was? How expensive was the gift? When Zheng Fugui saw this, he did not say much and sat back down. Carol Moeli stood up calmly. Your Majesty. After our territory was upgraded to White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, the shelter of the Goddess of Life was also upgraded to White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade. We have 3,000 clergymen, 3,000 priests, 3,000 nuns, and 10,000 paladins of life in our shelter now. In addition, the strength of all the clergymen has also increased to White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade. And my strength has also increased from Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade to Extraordinary Tier Advanced Grade. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Now that he had many soldiers, the casualties in the battle also increased greatly. The shelter of the Goddess of Life was the foundation for his soldiers to maintain a 0 casualty rate. And now, its strengthening could be said to be the most useful strengthening for Zhou Zhou at the moment. You guys can go back. Carol Moeli, get ready. I might let you resurrect 2 heroes later. Zhou Zhou said. Yes, Your Majesty. The 3 of them said respectfully. Then, he left. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou also left and walked towards the Night Temple. Night Temple. When Zhou Zhou arrived, he happened to see Bai He and Rob Allen chatting at the door. Greetings, Temple Lord. Greetings, Lord Silver Fallen Star. Zhou Zhou was stunned for a moment before saying respectfully. You're incredible. How many days has it been since he came to the High Continent? He's already established a kingdom. Bai He didn't say anything. Rob Allen could not help but sigh. Luck. Zhou Zhou said humbly. Building the first kingdom among the Lord of all races is not something that can be done by luck alone. You're good. Bai He looked at Zhou Zhou with admiration. Do you know? You are the fastest human to establish a kingdom without the help of external forces. He said seriously. Zhou Zhou was stunned. He did not expect to break a record. However, his heart was as calm as water. He did not feel much emotions because of this matter. Bai He sighed with emotion upon seeing this. It seemed that after this kid appeared on the entire channel of the Lord of all races twice, the situation had completely changed. He would not become unstable just because of a little achievement. Rob Allen, who was beside him, did not even manage to do that. If this had happened to Rob Allen, he would probably be overjoyed. You didn't come here just to report good news, did you? Bai He came back to his senses and asked. Yes. Zhou Zhou nodded. I've gathered the resources to resurrect 2 more heroes. Come, follow me to the Heroic Spirit Hall. Bai He's eyes lit up upon hearing this. Then, he pulled Zhou Zhou and walked quickly in the direction of the Hall of Heroes. A moment later, Zhou Zhou came to the shelter of the Goddess of Life with the relics of the Soul Mage, Izzy and the Flaming Saber King, to revive them. After resurrecting the 2 heroes, Zhou Zhou chatted with them briefly before bringing them to the Night Temple and handing them over to Bai He. At this point, Zhou Zhou's debt was completely paid off. He walked towards the administrative hall, debt-free in the administrative hall. When Zhou Zhou and the others approached, they heard intense discussions coming from inside. As a newly established kingdom, I don't think it's a good idea for our Blazing Sun Kingdom to follow the laws of the Aurora Kingdom. I was the former Prime Minister of the Aurora Kingdom and personally presided over the repair of the laws of the Aurora Kingdom. I'm very confident in establishing the laws of the kingdom. Furthermore, I want completely copy them. I'll make specific changes according to the situation of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. How about the flag of the Blazing Sun Kingdom with the sun as the main body? There's no problem with using the sun as the main body of the flag, but I personally feel that it can't be just the sun. It's too monotonous. Fair enough. The founding ceremony should be held in a grand manner. Of course. That's right. Our king is the founding king, not the successor. If we don't make a big fuss, wouldn't it seem too low-key? When Zhou Zhou heard these discussions, he could not help but smile. He walked in. When everyone saw him, they immediately stood up and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Everyone shouted. "Continue chatting. I'll listen from the side. If I have anything to say, I'll say it directly. If you have anything to ask me, just tell me directly." Zhou Zhou nodded and naturally sat on the main seat. Then, he said with a faint smile. Everyone looked at each other and respectfully replied, "Yes." Then, everyone started discussing again like before. In the beginning, everyone was still a little careful. However, when they saw that their emperor didn't do anything, they became bold and started discussing intensely like before. During this period, Zhou Zhou also discussed his thoughts with everyone. When it was difficult for everyone to make a decision, they would take the initiative to discuss with Zhou Zhou. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye. More than 3 hours passed. It was already late at night. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou asked everyone to go back and rest. The matters of the kingdom could be slowly discussed in the future. Everyone nodded and went back. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he returned to his beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. Beginner-grade Lord's Paradise. Martial arts practice field. Zhou Zhou looked at the 3 corpses in front of him. It was the corpses of the 4-armed Mara King, the Iron Fang King, and the Death Spirit Servant, Sakomo, that they had killed on the battlefield today. Chapter 529 The Loot of the Hero of the People of Foreign Races. Death Invitation Letter. The corpses of 3 people of foreign races. These are 3 hero inheritance secret manuals. Zhou Zhou looked excited. Even though he already had 9 heroes under his command. As far as he knew, there were more than 100 elven heroes in some veteran empire-level factions, such as the Elven Empire. This was not including the heroes of the people of foreign races who had submitted to the Elven Empire. Therefore, the more heroes he needed, the better. Only then would he be able to catch up to those veteran lords. He stopped thinking about it. Zhou Zhou placed his hand on the 4-armed Mara King. A text notification appeared. Lord Talent Notification, your loots have been enhanced by the King of Loots, Perfect Loots. Grade +1. Title Hint, your loots have been affected by the title of the strongest lord. The number of loots has increased by 150%. Lord Talent Notification, you have obtained Perfect Loots, 100 Mist Cores, Epic Tier, 800 Origin Crystals, 1 Epic Tier Intermediate Heroic Skill, 4-Faced 8 Arms, 1 Epic Tier Intermediate Heroic Skill, Moro Formless Combat Technique, 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment, Broken Moon Meteor Halberd, 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment, Mountain Crushing Axe, 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment, Sunset Saber, 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment, Soul Refining Cauldron. 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment, Intermediate Grade Skill Book, Moro Halberd, 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment, Moro Dynasty, 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment Moro Blade, 3 Epic Tier Equipment, Moro Axe 3 Epic Tier Intermediate Equipment Moro Cauldron, 1 Pious Tier Scarlet Crystals, 1 Epic Tier Intermediate Grade Hero Inheritance Secret Manual, 9 Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. Whoosh! The 4-armed Mara King's corpse instantly turned into a ray of light and flew into the king's treasure box in his glabella space. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. 150% additional loots, coupled with the 100% loots that he already had, normally speaking, 1 loot would become 2. 5 loots. However, he had taken a rounding method here, so there were 3. In addition, this 4-armed Mara King was born with 4 arms. When it was alive, it could control 4 different weapons to fight at the same time and could use each weapon in an orderly manner. Now, 12 epic tier intermediate grade weapons and 12 epic tier intermediate grade skill books have dropped. Awesome! In addition, it was indeed much more convenient to retrieve the loots with this king's treasure box. In the future, he would not have to worry about the phenomenon of him extracting loots being discovered by outsiders. Lord Talent Notification: you have obtained perfect loots, 80 mist cores, epic tier, 650 origin crystals, 1 epic tier intermediate grade hero skill, steel teeth bite, 1 epic tier intermediate grade hero skill, thousand fist destruction, 3 epic tier intermediate grade equipment, mountain fist weapons, 3 epic tier intermediate grade equipment, rock armor, 3 epic tier intermediate grade skill book broken you barbarian fist, 3 epic tier intermediate grade skill book long ranged raid, 3 epic tier intermediate grade skill book shake the ground, 3 racial talent spheres, epic tier intermediate grade, 1 pious tier scarlet crystals, 1 epic tier intermediate grade hero inheritance secret manual, 20 green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments. There's even racial talent. That's right. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. This Titan race was not a scarlet monster, but a life form of the people of foreign races. The fact that it could drop a racial talent sphere meant that this race's talent was indeed not bad. No wonder it could protect the high-level gem resources in the country in front of the other 3 countries alone. Zhou solemnly put away the other loots and took out the epic tier elementary grade race talent spheres. He looked over. Treasure name, Roar Spirit Devour, treasure grade, epic tier intermediate grade, treasure effect: after using it, the user will automatically possess the innate ability of the Titan race, Roar Spirit Devour. With a Titan roar, living beings far weaker than the user can be sucked into the user's stomach, turning into life force and a portion of promotion energy to strengthen themselves and increase their realm. Treasure description: the racial talent of the Titan race. After using it, you will possess the racial talent of this race. Zhou looked at this innate ability and his expression turned serious. The Titan race should have relied on this innate ability to invade the Aurora Kingdom countless times and devour the subjects of the Aurora Kingdom in the past. However, even though this method was a little bloody, it was undeniable that its innate ability was indeed very strong. Especially in terms of clearing miscellaneous soldiers, it could be said to be a divine skill. Zhou chose to learn without hesitation. The law did not differentiate between good and evil, and between the people who used it. Zhou naturally would not use this innate ability to kill the innocent. Then, he looked at the corpse of the last death spirit servant, Sakomo. He naturally would not forget that this guy still had a Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystal on him. Zhou extracted the other party's loots without hesitation. At the same time, with a thought, he chose to trigger the special loots that the lucky star gave him once a day. Lord Talent Notification: you've obtained perfect loots, 50 mist cores, legendary tier, 2,500 origin crystals, 1 legendary tier elementary grade enhanceable hero skill God of Death descends, 1 legendary tier elementary grade enhanceable hero skill ultimate slash of death, 3 legendary tier elementary grade equipment Black Absolute Ghost Blade, 3 legendary tier elementary grade equipment Black Absolute Ghost Armor, 3 legendary tier elementary grade skill book Angel of Death. Combat notes: 3 legendary tier elementary grade skill book Angel of Death's Refuge, 1 Holy Spirit tier Scarlet Crystals, 1 legendary tier elementary grade Hero Inheritance Secret Manual, 13 green bronze tier elementary grade Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. Lucky Star hint: you have obtained a special loots, Death Invitation Letter. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. He had obtained the Holy Spirit tier Scarlet Crystals. After being purified by the shelter of the Goddess of Life, it would be another Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystal. This time, he really had 3 Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystals. We have to keep them. I already have 9 heroes under my command. Now, there are 3 more Hero Inheritance Secret Manuals. The number of heroes under me will be 12 after using it. There are only 3 Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystals. It feels like there's never enough. Zhou Zhou sighed. Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystals were indeed good things. However, there were too few of them. He could only obtain this much even though he was the king of loots. He shook her head. He did not think too much about it and looked at the special loots dropped by Lucky Star. It was a black invitation letter the size of 2 palms. The edges of the invitation letter were white, and when one looked at it, there was a faint aura of death. Zhou Zhou looked at it. A text notification appeared. Treasure name, Death Invitation Letter, Treasure Grade. Treasure effect, an invitation letter casually written by the god of death, Thanatos. It said that the living being who obtains the invitation letter can request the god of death to take action and bring death to the enemy who has recently attacked the owner of the invitation letter. Treasure introduction, don't hold too much hope. Look carefully. It's just a request. It depends on the god of death's mood to make a move or not. Zhou Zhou, this treasure was indeed very good. However, what did the final introduction of the treasure mean? It depended on the god of death's mood. So, whether this treasure could be used depended entirely on the god of death's good mood? That's not exactly good. No one said that god of death would definitely make a move if he was in a good mood after all. Zhou Zhou cursed in his heart. He had already offered the Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystal to the god of death twice. If the god of death really did not respond to his request, he would never go to the god of death temple again. From now on, he will visit the shelter of the goddess of life every day. The Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystal was only reserved for the goddess of life. From the god of death's attitude in the past, he probably valued the Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystal very much. When the time came, he would not offer the god of death the Holy Spirit tier Faith Divine Crystal. Let's see what he will do. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and put away the death invitation letter. Let's save it for later. What if it is useful in the future? Then, he took out the 3 hero inheritance secret manuals from the box and looked at them. Chapter 533 Hero Inheritance Secret Manuals. Epic Tier Blessing of the War God. Treasure name, Hero Inheritance Secret Manual, Grade, Epic Tier Intermediate Grade, Treasure Ability. You can obtain the hero inheritance of the 6-armed serpent dragon emperor, Jik after using it. Introduction, I am the king with 6 weapons, the 6-armed serpent dragon emperor, Jik. Treasure name, hero inheritance secret manual, grade, epic tier intermediate grade, treasure ability. After using it, you can obtain the bloody king of fighters, Zero. Introduction, enjoy the cries from the arena and the audience. Bloody king of fighters, Zero. Treasure name, hero inheritance secret manual, grade, epic tier intermediate grade, treasure ability. After using it, you can obtain the Elven of Death, Charlot. Introduction, death is the home of all living beings. Elven of Death, Charlot. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. The 3 upgraded versions of the hero inheritance secret manual looked good. How should he use it? Zhou Zhou touched his chin and thought of something. He opened the military merit panel and set up a military merit quests. Military merit quests, War Hero, quest content. In the upcoming war, the first 3 soldiers who perform outstandingly and are loyal to the territory will have the chance to become heroes. Mission duration, 5 days. Note 1, this quest will be decided by the joint evaluation and discussion of all the heroes in the territory. All heroes must abide by the principle of fair, open, and fair evaluation. They are not allowed to bend the law for personal gain and are not allowed to evaluate randomly. Otherwise, they will be severely punished. Confirmed. Published. These military merit quests appeared in the military merit system of the various armies. Zhou Zhou looked at the military quests and nodded in satisfaction. This way, he wouldn't have to choose. He would just let the soldiers compete. Among the 3 slots for the hero inheritance, the one with the most ability would be the one. At the same time, all the soldiers instantly went crazy when they saw this military merit quest. A hero. What a revered title. Every life form had the ambition to become heroes. Originally, they thought that becoming a hero was a distant goal for them. They might not even have the chance to become heroes in their lives. But now, His Lordship actually placed this opportunity in front of them openly and let them compete fairly. Who wouldn't be excited? Even the soldiers who knew that they could not compete for the hero slot felt honored. They felt that their Lord really treated them as His own people and valued them. He was willing to reward them with any treasure. As for the military merit quests being fake, how was that possible? There was the example of the ghost god general, Luo Sheng. No one would doubt the authenticity of this military merit quest. I lost to Luo Sheng last time. This time, I must get this opportunity to become a hero. I must become a hero so that I can directly realize my dream of bringing honor to my ancestors. His Majesty is indeed His Majesty. He gave us 3 spots for the hero inheritance right from the start. In other words, it won't be long before our Blazing Sun Kingdom will have 3 more heroes. This is already stronger than many veteran beginner kingdoms, right? It's hard to imagine that we've only been established for less than a day. I'm proud that I'm a subject of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. The soldiers and the subjects who received the news discussed excitedly. On the other side, in the beginner grade Lord's Paradise, Zhou looked at the mountain of Lord Talent crystal fragments in front of him and could not help but take a deep breath. It's time to advance to the blessing of the war god. Zhou was filled with anticipation. He had finally gathered enough Lord Talent crystal fragments needed to upgrade the blessing of the war god. He waved his right hand. A mountain-like Lord Talent crystal fragment appeared in front of him. Among them were 60,000 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments and 4 diamond tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. Zhou began to fuse. He first fused 60,000 green bronze tier Lord Talent crystal fragments into 6 white platinum tier Lord Talent origin divine crystals. Then, he placed them together with the 4 diamond tier Lord Talent crystal fragments. A text notification appeared. Do you want to fuse it into a diamond tier Lord Talent origin divine crystal? Yes. Zhou said without hesitation. These Lord Talent crystals emitted a dazzling white platinum tier light and diamond light. After the light dissipated, a transparent diamond crystal emitting a diamond glow appeared in front of him. It was a diamond tier Lord Talent origin divine crystal. When Zhou saw this, he immediately opened his Lord Talent interface and muttered to himself to level up. As the diamond tier Lord Talent origin divine crystal in his hand emitted an even brighter diamond light, a text notification appeared. As you have 3 white platinum Lord Talents at the same time, blessing of the 10 gods, blessing of the war god, the shelter of the goddess of life, and dragon slaying hometown, please choose one to advance to. I choose the blessing of the 10 gods, blessing of the war god to advance. Zhou said without hesitation. Lord Talent has been chosen. Upgrading in progress, he felt a familiar warm feeling between his eyebrows. Zhou's expression was calm and there was nothing unusual about it. A moment later, the warmth on his forehead gradually disappeared. A new text notification appeared. Lord Talent upgrade successful. Congratulations, your white platinum tier Lord Talent, blessing of the 10 gods, blessing of the war god has been upgraded to diamond tier Lord Talent, blessing of the 10 gods, blessing of the war god. You have leveled up to diamond tier Lord Talent effect, Lord Talent, blessing of the 10 gods, blessing of the war god, diamond tier, blessing of the 10 gods, blessing of the war god, one of the 10 main gods under the Supreme will has blessed you and your combat type professionals. You and your combat type professionals will receive an additional 1000% promotion energy after killing the enemy. A smile appeared on his face. It actually doubled. Still. This wasn't over yet. This was because he still had 28 extraordinary tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and 19 epic tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. He had been useless all this time. He had been waiting for today. Without hesitation, Zhou took out 10 extraordinary tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and 10 epic tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. He fused them into one extraordinary tier Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystal and one epic tier Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystal before choosing to level up again. This Lord Talent was upgraded twice. Zhou looked at it. Lord Talent, Blessing of the 10 Gods, Blessing of the War God, Epic Tier, Blessing of the 10 Gods, Blessing of the War God, one of the 10 Master God tiers under the Supreme Will has blessed you and your combat type professionals. You and your combat type professionals will receive an additional 8,000% promotion energy after killing the enemy. Zhou looked at this Lord Talent and suddenly laughed. 80 times. This was an additional 80 times promotion energy bonus. Which meant the soldiers under other lords would only obtain the promotion energy of a life form if they killed a fog monster. As for the soldiers under his command, killing a fog monster would give them promotion energy from 81 life forms. This bonus was extremely terrifying. Zhou understood that his soldiers were about to undergo a huge improvement again today. Chapter 531 Conditions for Advancing to Intermediate Kingdom. After the excitement, Zhou looked at his remaining Lord Talent Crystal Fragment. After the consumption just now, there were 752 Black Iron Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 769 Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 133 White Silver Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 11 Yellow Gold Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 9 White Platinum Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 18 Extraordinary Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 9 Epic Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, 2 Legendary Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and 6 Mythical Tier Unique Lord Talent Crystal Fragments left in his possession. Zhou looked at these Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and nodded slightly. Actually, from the looks of the Lord Talent Crystal Fragments in his hands, he had the conditions to upgrade some other Lord Talents. However, he felt that he was not in a hurry to upgrade the other Lord Talents. Therefore, he did not use these Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. In that case, there was a huge benefit. When he encountered some top-grade Lord Talents in the future, such as Lord Talents that were comparable to the Blessing of the 10 Gods, the Blessing of the War God, he could directly upgrade it through the Lord Talent Crystal Fragments he had accumulated. He did not need to wait for the accumulated time to upgrade it. In addition, he already had more than 20 Lord Talents. It would not increase their levels even if he had a lot of Lord Talent Crystal Fragments and distributed them equally to each Lord Talent. As for the Lord Talents of lower level, the effects were actually not very obvious to him. For example, the Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent, Gnome Alchemy Workshop that played a very helpful role when he first descended to the High Continent. With the increase in the number of doctors and Goddess of Life professionals in his territory, this Lord Talent had gradually decreased to the point where it could only provide potions. Their effects did not seem obvious, and that was indeed the case. Therefore, he did not need the low-level Lord Talent to increase by 1 or 2 levels. What he needed was Extraordinary Tier, Epic Tier, and even Legendary Tier and Mythical Tier Lord Talents. These advanced Lord Talents were either obtained from the enemy by luck or required him to accumulate a large number of Lord Talent Crystal Fragments to increase his top-grade Lord Talent to the advanced stage. He would therefore not use these Lord Talent Crystal Fragments easily. After that, he opened his Kingdom UI. Kingdom name, Blazing Sun Kingdom, Kingdom level, Beginner Kingdom, Flag of the Kingdom, Undecided, Royal Army, Blazing Sun Army, Yellow Gold Tier, Monster Army, White Silver Tier, Dragon God Army, White Silver Tier, Requirements for Advancement to Intermediate Kingdom, Territory Level Advancement to Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade, 10,000 extraordinary tier mist cores. Conquer 3 elementary crimson kingdoms under the Crimson Overlord. 1/3, conquer 2 beginner kingdoms that are not under the Crimson Overlord. 0/2, 500 independent regional territories, 10 race heroes, 1 epic tier elementary grade kingdom token. Zhou Zhou's gaze landed on the conditions to advance to the intermediate kingdom and he could not help but frown. He was far from reaching the first step of upgrading his territory to the extraordinary tier elementary grade. After all, his current territory level was only white platinum tier advanced grade. He still needed to advance 4 more times to reach the extraordinary tier elementary grade. It seems. Normally speaking, a beginner kingdom can only be established by an extraordinary tier lord faction. I'm just a white platinum tier advanced grade territorial faction, and I've already established a beginner kingdom. In terms of game terminology, it can be considered an action that exceeds the version. Zhou Zhou muttered. Then, he shook his head with a bitter smile. This condition alone extended the date for him to upgrade the Blazing Sun Kingdom to an intermediate kingdom indefinitely. Not to mention the subsequent conditions. 1. Conquer the 3 beginner Crimson Kingdoms under the command of the Crimson Overlord. 2. Conquer 2 beginner kingdoms that were not under the command of the Crimson Overlord. Currently, the only Crimson Kingdom that Zhou Zhou knew of was the captured Taiyan Kingdom. Whether it was the Aurora Kingdom, the Nether Bark Kingdom, the Titan Kingdom, or the Flame Spirit Kingdom that had just been found out, they were all veteran kingdom-level lord factions that belonged to the native life forms, not the Crimson Kingdom. He had heard of it. The territory of some lords in the Star Alliance was adjacent to the territory of some lords of the Crimson Kingdom. However, Zhou Zhou did not intend to cross such a long distance to conquer the Crimson Kingdom that was not close to his territory. Firstly, it was strenuous. Secondly, the distance was too far. Even with the spatial teleportation array, it would be difficult to manage it after conquest. If he had the energy and time, he would rather expand outwards to find the other beginner Crimson Kingdoms around his territory. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou sent someone to call Wu Tu over. Then, he told him to continue exploring the unknown territories around the kingdom in the coming days. From tomorrow onwards, you will transfer soldiers from other armies to expand your heavenly army to 100,000 soldiers. In addition, you will take 3 black ghosts, 2 star knights, and 50,000 mechanostriders as military aircraft for your heavenly army. I want to greatly increase the strength of the heavenly army and strengthen your ability to explore the surrounding unknown territories. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. As Blazing Sun territory was promoted to a beginner kingdom lord faction, the strength of the heavenly map army, the vanguard of the former king, had to increase along with it. Otherwise, it would seriously slow down his growth speed. Yes, Your Majesty. Wu Tu said excitedly. He felt that His Majesty valued him and the Heavenly Two army more and more. I'm not done yet. Zhou Zhou smiled and took out a copy of the Proof of Legion, choosing to use it. Please confirm the name of your kingdom-level army, Heavenly Map Army. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. The army's name, Heavenly Map Army, has been confirmed. Please confirm the Legion Commander, Deputy Commander, Logistics Chief, Machinery Chief. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he only filled Wu Tu's name in the position of Legion Commander. He would leave the rest to Wu Tuesday. The dead loyal Wu Tu would give him a good answer. He saw Wu Tu's body tremble before he raised his head and looked at him in shock. Your Majesty, he was at a loss. You don't have to ask why. It's normal for you to get an army with your and the Heavenly Map Army's contributions. However, the position of Legion Commander is both a power and a responsibility. Don't let me down. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. Yes, Your Majesty. I will not let you down, Your Majesty. The excitement on Wu Tu's face gradually faded, and his expression gradually became serious. He said solemnly. Zhou Zhou nodded and waved his hand for him to leave. Seeing this, Wu Tu left respectfully. After he left, Zhou, who had nothing else to do, returned to his room to rest. Just as he entered his room, a beautiful figure pounced into his arms. It was Liya. They held each other for a while. "Let's take a break." Zhou suddenly smiled evilly. Liya did not say anything. She just buried her head in Zhou's arms in embarrassment. Zhou smiled when he saw this. He then suddenly carried Liya in his arms and walked into the room. At this moment, the stars in the starry skies above also put on their scarlet veils in embarrassment. Chapter 532 Assassination of a God Spirit. In the Pope's Hall in Netherbark Kingdom. The new Pope, Floyd, looked at the kobold before him. It was a kobold in a black cloak and shrouded in shadows. The god of shadow rays and hidden murder, Algernon. "How long has it been since I last saw you?" Floyd looked at the kobold and sighed. "More than 50 years. Algernon said calmly. Floyd nodded. "I have a quest for you." It said. "Quest? Is it the moment of life and death for your Netherbark Kingdom?" "Floyd, don't forget. The God Lord sent me here because a holy son was born here 100 years ago. The God Lord sent me here to help you when you encounter a life and death crisis. This is a reward from the God Lord. It shouldn't be reduced to a tool for your political struggle." Algernon said calmly, having long heard about the battle between the new and old pope. He, who had firm and pure faith, disdained to be associated with them, let alone join them and be used by them. No. Algernon, you've misunderstood me. Why would I use a god spirit like you for such a boring matter? Do you know the Blazing Sun Kingdom that was just established today? He asked. Algernon shook his head. It had been praying piously recently and did not understand what was happening in the outside world. "Let me tell you about it first," Floyd said with a smile. Then, it told Algernon about what had happened in the Blazing Sun Kingdom recently and the divine artifact of the race. According to that king of the Blazing Sun's strength and habits, the Aurora Kingdom, the Titan Kingdom, and even our Netherbark Kingdom will probably be within his expanded territory. The King of Titans, who also guessed this, even came to me personally today to seek cooperation with me. Don't you think I should nip this matter in the bud before it happens? He stared at Algernon and asked. Algernon did not say anything. If what Floyd said was true, there was probably a 90% chance that the King of the Blazing Sun would attack the Netherbark Kingdom next. It is indeed a huge threat. It thought to itself. On the Pope's seat. Floyd immediately became even more excited when it saw the slight change in Algernon's expression. Its expression became even more pious as it said, not to mention, that King of the Blazing Sun even has a supreme treasure like a divine artifact of the race. That's a racial divine artifact that can be used by all races. It's a true treasure. If you can bring that race divine artifact over and offer it to His Excellency with me, His Excellency will definitely be very happy. He might even give you a reward. Algernon was even more tempted. As a true God spirit, he understood the value of this universal divine artifact of the race better than Floyd. That was a super treasure that even true God tier and master God tier existences would be tempted by. Even though he did not know what its value was to be wanted by both true God tier and master God tier existences. But it didn't matter. He only needed to know that it was very precious. After offering it to the God level would be very happy. Floyd said his third reason when he saw the even more tempted expression on Algernon's face. Algernon. You've been with me for almost 100 years. Don't you want to get rid of your mission as soon as possible and make a huge contribution to go back and continue serving His Excellency? It tempted. Algernon fell silent. It was indeed tempting. I'll make a trip and take that human lord's life. Algernon said calmly after a long silence. Floyd was delighted. But at this moment, a bloodstain suddenly appeared on the right side of its face. Blood dripped from the bloodstain and quickly dyed half of its face with blood. At first, Floyd only felt that its face was a little cold. It realized that it was injured when it touched its face. It was about to flare up at Algernon when it saw it looking at it coldly. Even though you're the Pope of the God of Death Church of the Netherbark Kingdom, your status is equal to mine. But you're just an extraordinary tier advance grade dog after all, while I am a god spirit that's worlds apart from you. I don't want to hear that kind of bait again. Otherwise, it won't just be your beautiful face that splits open. Then, he snorted and walked away. Floyd watched it leave angrily. After the other party walked away for a long time, the anger on its face gradually disappeared. It even smiled. With Algernon gone, not only can I resolve the greatest threat of the Netherbark Kingdom, I can also use this opportunity to completely suppress the old Pope's side in the church. I can also obtain the admiration of His Excellency. Killing two birds with one stone, ha 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 ha. Floyd could not help but laugh as it imagined a beautiful future. Beginner-grade Lord's Paradise in the Blazing Sun City. In the bedroom. Zhou and Liya were sleeping soundly. At this moment, a warning sound that sounded like a huge bell suddenly sounded in Zhou's mind. An incomparable sense of danger suddenly descended in his consciousness. Whoosh! Zhou sat up on the bed. His face was pale as he stared ahead with wide eyes. Why? Liya was also woken up. She sat beside Zhou and looked at the man in front of her worriedly. Zhou said nothing. He only frowned. He knew this alarm was because his talent, danger prediction, had been triggered. It must be a life and death crisis. Otherwise, the sense of danger that danger prediction gives me would definitely not be so strong. Zhou's alarm went off. On the surface he did not reveal anything and even had a faint smile on his face. Liya. I'm sorry. I'm afraid you have to go back first. I have something to deal with. Zhou apologized. It was indeed not good to chase a girl who had just fallen asleep out in the middle of the night. However, he had no choice. In the face of such an invisible terrifying threat, he probably wouldn't be able to protect others while protecting himself. He had to let the person closest to him leave his side first. This way, he could also let go of his methods to resolve this crisis. Liya was stunned. However, even though she was puzzled, she believed that Zhou was not a rude person. He must have a reason for saying that. Hence, she nodded, put on her clothes, and left. Seeing her leave, Zhou summoned all his heroes through the army interface. However, he did not let them approach him. He only asked them to hide outside the house and be ready to attack at any time. And then, Zhou waited quietly on the bed. A moment later, Zhou suddenly trembled, and the sense of danger in his heart reached its peak. He immediately looked around without leaving a trace. However, what made his heart sink was that at this moment, he did not see any enemies or sense any enemy's aura in his vision. At the same time, less than 2 meters in front of Zhou, the god of shadow rays and hidden murder, Algernon, was floating in front of him openly, looking at him calmly. It was as if it was looking at a dead person. Chapter 533 God Slaying 1. The God of Shadow Rays and Hidden Murder, Algernon looked at the human lord in front of it. It could not help but think of the other party's information. King of the Blazing Sun, what an unbelievable human lord. He can actually reach this stage with just his human bloodline and even become the current strongest lord of all races. If he continues to grow, he might really become an overlord-level lord in the future. Algernon sighed. As a true god spirit, he had seen many unbelievable lords rise in his long life as a god spirit. However, this was the first time he had seen someone like Zhou Zhou who had reached this stage with the bloodline of a low-level human. It was a pity that such an elite was about to die under his dagger. At the thought of this, Algernon's eyes became calmer. He raised his right hand, and a black dagger that looked like a curved claw appeared out of thin air in his palm. The surface of this dagger emitted an inconspicuous black light that was actually shockingly energetic. If a life form looked over, they would immediately feel a chill run down their spine. Algernon reached out and placed the dagger on Zhou Zhou's neck, about to cut off his head. At this moment, the warning from his talent, danger prediction, instantly reached its peak in Zhou Zhou's mind. The alarm rang wildly. Zhou Zhou's hair stood on end. He disappeared from the spot without thinking. Algernon couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when its attack missed. Then, it calmed down. "There's no point in escaping," he said calmly. Then, his body dissipated into the darkness. Outside the beginner-grade Lord's paradise, Zhou Zhou's figure appeared out of thin air. He panted slightly and frowned as he looked at the beginner-grade Lord's paradise. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. In his powerful perception as a chaos human, he seemed to vaguely sense that an enemy was going to use some sharp weapon to cut his head off. That enemy should have grasped a relatively high-level meld skill, or even a law skill. Zhou Zhou felt that. The possibility of the latter was extremely high. If that was the case, the other party was either a high-level bloodline race that could master law skills in advance. For example, the Shepherd's God race, the Chaos God's race, the original Spirit race. Or a God Spirit. It was very, very difficult for normal life forms to master law skills. However, it was normal for God Spirits. This was because the most obvious and basic characteristic of God Spirits was mastering law skills. Zhou Zhou's heart was pounding at the thought of this. A God Spirit actually wants to kill me? Moreover, in the form of assassination. Doesn't this God Spirit have any self-awareness about being a God Spirit? Do you have to assassinate to kill me? Zhou Zhou complained in his heart. Then, he suddenly thought of something. That's not right. Why would a God Spirit attack me? Isn't he afraid of the Supreme Agreement? Wait. Zhou Zhou suddenly reacted. He was already a lord of a beginner kingdom. The Empire or Divine Kingdom Lord factions might not be able to attack me because of the Supreme Agreement. However, other kingdom-level Lord factions that are no longer restricted by the Supreme Agreement and could attack me, the King of the Kingdom. If it is an old kingdom, it might really be able to invite a small number of low-level God Spirits to attack me. The familiar bone-chilling sense of danger came again just as his thoughts were flying. Zhou Zhou teleported away again and appeared in an empty space hundreds of meters away without thinking. He looked at the place before he teleported. Nothing happened at that place. However, not only did Zhou Zhou not feel at ease, he even felt his blood run cold. What a terrifying meld ability. It was definitely a law skill level meld ability. You can actually dodge 2 of my attacks. This human lord only has the strength of a diamond tier advanced grade, but he can do this. He's indeed extraordinary. Algernon floated where Zhou Zhou had been before he teleported and looked at him hundreds of meters away in surprise. Then, his body disappeared again. Zhou Zhou looked at the empty surroundings and felt anxious. He knew at this moment, he had to find the assassin's location. Otherwise, even though he could dodge it once or twice, it was impossible for him to use danger prediction to dodge it every time. He would definitely lose if he defended for too long. This was a principle that all living beings who read a little military books would know. He carefully sensed the location before he teleported in the distance. Suddenly. There seems to be the aura of shadow rays in that place. Zhou Zhou finally sensed the faint aura of the shadow rays with the light sacred dragon bloodline in his body. Without hesitation, he immediately stood up and raised his hands into fists. Law skill, absolute light. The might of the holy dragon. An indescribably resplendent light suddenly erupted from Zhou Zhou's body. Under the illumination of this resplendent light, it was as if a small sun had slowly risen in the blazing sun territory, illuminating all the darkness and shadow. At the same time, a terrifying bloodline pressure suddenly erupted from Zhou Zhou's body, preventing all the Shadow Ray's evils from escaping. Ah! A scream sounded. Zhou Zhou suddenly opened his eyes. He saw a kobold in a black cloak holding a black scimitar-shaped dagger. It was shrouded in shadows and was more than 10 meters away from him. It was the god of Shadow Rays and hidden murder, Algernon. A text message appeared. God's true name, Algernon, God title, the god of Shadow Rays and hidden murder, God tier, low tier deity elementary grade, territory, Nether Bark Kingdom, ability overview, originally a lowly god spirit in the god of death Thanatos pantheon. It is good at hiding in the shadows and assassinating. Later, it was sent by the god of death Thanatos to protect the Nether Bark Kingdom because a holy son was born in the Nether Bark Kingdom. Bloodline, son of Shadow Ray's bloodline, mid-level god tier elementary grade, skills, law skill, incarnation of Shadow Rays, law skill, death shadow dagger, loyalty, none, the other party is not a territory subject, potential, mid-level god tier elementary grade, hero biography. Zhou Zhou felt that it was a pity. The difference in strength was too great. He could not see all the other party's stats information. Nonetheless, he got to know the other party's background from the only information he had. Nether Bark Kingdom. They did not expect them to actually make the first move. Very well. My Blazing Sun Kingdom will have been established for nothing if I don't settle scores with your Nether Bark Kingdom tomorrow. Zhou Zhou's eyes were cold. However, he had to resolve the current crisis right at that moment. Just as Algernon revealed his figure, countless figures shot out from all directions and launched all kinds of attacks at Algernon. Hero skill, Greedy Wolf Devouring Arrow. Bai Yun, hero skill, 7 Swords Killing Move. Suan, hero skill, Heaven and Earth Heart Arrow. Wu Tu, hero skill, Dragon Slaying Axe Technique. Guiqiao, law skill, One Blade Ultimate. Feng Luo, law skill, Absolute Light. Ingasol, a large number of attacks of different forms attacked Algernon. Chapter 534 God Slaying. 2. Algernon was indeed an old low-tier god spirit who had become a god for many years. His state had decreased greatly and it was even difficult for him to sense his surroundings because of the attack of absolute light. At this moment, he still used his precise dagger technique to block most of the attacks. Only a small number of attacks landed on him, but they did not cause much damage. Algernon was extremely furious. At the same time, it was very shocked. It never expected that the process of such a simple assassination operation with the target being only a diamond tier advanced grade lord actually put it in such a sorry state. Moreover, the other party was only a diamond tier advanced grade, but he had actually mastered such a law skill that countered him so much. At this moment, it actually realized that there was no longer any chaotic elemental around him, such as death, shadow rays, and corrosion. He was vigilant. This law skill was definitely not simple. It could not delay any longer. If this dragged on, who knew if this king of the blazing sun would come up with new methods? He put away his relaxed thoughts. It decisively released its strongest law skill, the Death Shadow Dagger. At this moment, the world seemed to have darkened. Other than Ingasol and Guiqiao, who could barely tell that something was happening, the others fell into a dark environment. Zhou Zhou's perspective was even more shocking. This was because other than seeing darkness, he also saw a dagger that was like a black light shooting towards him like a meteor. Before he could react, the black dagger stabbed between his eyebrows. At this critical moment, a black scroll suddenly appeared between Zhou Zhou's eyebrows and automatically spread out, blocking the dagger's attack. It was the death immunity scroll that Zhou Zhou had exchanged from the god of death with a Holy Spirit tier faith divine crystal a long time ago. At this moment, it had a life-saving effect. Algernon, who had the intention to kill, was immediately stunned when he saw the black scroll. What's the relationship between this human lord and His Excellency the God of Death? He was actually given such a treasure by His Excellency the God of Death. Algernon thought in a daze. Zhou Zhou also saw Algernon standing rooted to the ground. This was a good opportunity. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. With a thought. Buzz, a holy sword made of gold and white quickly condensed in his hand. It was the newly obtained nomological skill, Holy Light Sword. In the next moment, Zhou Zhou disappeared from where he was. Then, he appeared in front of Algernon out of thin air. Finally, he stabbed his sword into Algernon's heart without hesitation. Puff! The holy light sword passed through his body. Algernon lowered his head in a daze and looked at the holy light sword that had pierced through his chest. Then, he looked at Zhou Zhou, who had a resolute gaze in front of him. His eyes gradually became blank, and the aura on his body gradually weakened until it completely disappeared. Boom! Algernon fell to the ground weakly, stirring up some smoke and dust. Zhou Zhou looked at the corpse in joy and disbelief. He had actually killed a low-tier god spirit elementary grade 3 levels higher than the diamond tier advanced grade god spirit. Even though this god spirit was at the lowest level, it was still a true god spirit. He had actually done such an unbelievable thing. At this moment, Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Feng Luo, Suan, and the others also looked at this scene in a daze. Clearly, they did not expect their lord to actually achieve such an achievement. Zhou Zhou ignored their reactions and looked at the kill notification in front of him. Zhou Zhou ignored their reactions and looked at the kill notification in front of him. Blessing of the War God, you have obtained an additional 160 billion promotion energy points. Boom! The surging promotion energy suddenly appeared in Zhou Zhou's heart. Then, it surged into various parts of his body in an extremely gentle manner, strengthening his body and soul. Zhou Zhou's body trembled. Then, he felt an even stronger power circulating in his body. He looked at the strength column in his stats list. His guest was right, he had broken through extraordinary tier elementary grade. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. He did not expect to break through again not long after he advanced to the diamond tier advanced grade and directly advanced to the extraordinary tier elementary grade. The extraordinary tier. This level was already considered top-notch combat strength among the local kingdom-level factions in the High Continent. He could be considered an intermediate-level expert even in the entire myriad worlds. Zhou Zhou was very satisfied. Then, his gaze landed on Algernon's corpse. He squatted down, placed his hand on it, and began to extract it. Lord Talent Notification, your loots have been enhanced by the King of Loots, Perfect Loots. Grade +1. Title Hint, your loots have been affected by the title of the strongest lord. The number of loots has increased by 150%. Lord Talent Notification, you have obtained perfect loots, 150 divine crystals, middle-level god tier elementary grade, 3 Shadow Child divine spark fragments, middle-level god tier elementary grade, 3 Shadow Massacre divine spark fragments, middle-level god tier elementary grade, 3 Death Shadow Rays equipment, middle-level god tier elementary grade, 3 Shadow Cloak equipment. Middle-level God tier elementary grade, 1 God Spirit Book, middle-level God tier elementary grade. 10 Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. Algernon's corpse instantly turned into a ray of light and fused into Zhou Zhou's king's treasure chest, turning into a large number of loots. Zhou Zhou looked at them one by one. The first was the divine crystals. They were seed-sized items that were completely crystal clear and suffused with golden light. Treasure name, Divine Crystal, Treasure Grade, mid-level God tier elementary grade, treasure effect, the transaction currency of God spirits. It can also be one of the sources of God spirit's divine power. It is an extremely precious currency. Treasure description, treasures used by God spirits to trade and increase their strength. Even God spirits value them very much. So this is the transaction currency of the God spirits. Moreover, it can be used as a source of divine power for God spirits. It can even increase the strength of God spirits. What a good treasure! Zhou's eyes lit up. He put it away solemnly and looked at the treasures behind him. Treasure name, Divine Spark Fragment, God of Shadow and Assassination, Son of Shadow, treasure grade, mid-level God tier advanced grade, treasure effect, the user has a chance to comprehend the famous law skill of the God of Shadow and Assassination, Son of Shadow, with the Divine Spark Fragment. Treasure description, the Divine Spark Fragment of the God of Shadow and Assassination. Those who are talented in the law of shadow and assassination can comprehend his famous law skill, Son of Shadow. Treasure name, Divine Spark Fragment, God of Shadow and Assassination, Shadow Massacre, treasure grade, mid-level God tier advanced grade, treasure effect, the user holding the Divine Spark Fragment has a chance to comprehend the famous law skill of the God of Shadow and Assassination, Shadow Massacre. Treasure description, the Divine Spark Fragment of the God of Shadow and Assassination. Those who are talented in the law of shadow and assassination can comprehend his famous law skill, Shadow Massacre. Zhou looked at the 6 Divine Spark Fragments and nodded in satisfaction. These were 6 law skills. Not only could he learn it, but he could also distribute it to his subordinates to master. This way, he would not have to deal with law skill level experts personally as a lord in the future. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.